The drivers have to navigate 7 from the pit studio upstairs to the booth where Alan Bestwick is hiding out for the next couple of hours. 7 is not easy.
No, and it requires a little bit more of a variety for the driver and the crew chief to get through those 7 corners for some 200 miles today. Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie joining us. First, a quick refresher on the variety that these drivers and teams will face. This Watkins Glen road course that is fast.
Yeah, that's the key. It's so much faster than the other road courses that they get on. See, going down into turn 1, you got to be careful not to wheel hop getting in here, create a big problem, Andy.
Yeah, one thing you want to do is get off of this corner as good as possible, because a lot of the speed on this racetrack is getting up through the S's on the long back straightaway.
As you get up through there, you're going to get to the highest braking areas. You carry a lot of speed into the inner loop.
You see a lot of action through that inner loop. So you can see right here, no more gravel traps to get caught in, but it's still a lot of action.
Sometimes really through the inner loop instead of around it like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, just getting through it's not your only problem. You have to exit that as you go to the high-speed left-hand corner, turn 6.
And then you come to the last corner, turn 7, come to the start-finish line, and this can get exciting in this corner. We've seen a lot of big crashes in this turn.
That next to last one and last one, those can be a handful here at Watkins Glen. Now, in the field today, a great variety of drivers' backgrounds. You've got guys like Ron Fellows that have made their name road racing. You've got the Sprint Cup double-duty guys like the Busch brothers. And then the guys racing for the championship like Reed Sorensen. How does that mix of different drivers in this field affect the race?
It's going to affect it in a lot of ways because they're on such different agendas. I think it's going to make it fun to watch throughout the day as we see these drivers just here, the Sprint Cup guys, just getting some more seat time, but they're here for one thing, to win. Ron Fellows, that's all he cares about. But we have Elliott Sadler, Ricky Stenhouse, Reed Sorensen. These guys have to worry about points, so they have to be aware all the time at who they're racing. Should make for a fun ending.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, there's some of these drivers with nothing to lose, and there's some that's got a lot to lose. So it's going to be a fun race. Really 2 different races kind of within one. It's going to be fun.
And you mentioned fun endings. The last several Nationwide Series road course races, for that matter, the last several Nationwide Series races have had crazy finishes.
Oh, this one here is just, I mean, it's incredibly crazy. It gets down into the last few, the laps of the race, you see these cars banging into each other and running off the track. And then the strategy came into play. Some of them running out of gas on the last lap. Justin Allgaier thought he had the win, but ended up not getting it.
Yeah, and then we got to Oval last week at Iowa. Looked like Ricky Stenhouse had everything, blows an engine, not going to make it start-finish line. So his good friend and teammate Carl Edwards helps him get there first.
There you go. That's teamwork at its best, right? So that's what we can look forward to at the end of the day today. Probably a crazy finish here at Watkins Glen. What will the winning strategy be that gets drivers in position for that? Right now, time to go trackside and start them up.
And now, race fans, please welcome back your Grand Marshal, the CEO of famous West Coast Customs, Ryan Freelinghouse, with the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Over there in turn 6. They hadn't heard you on this one. We all got you. Once he stops rolling away, we'll out on the thing. Start picking some spots.
All the different spotters some of these drivers have on the radio. Got to do a roll call here before they get going out onto the racetrack. We are almost set to go racing at Watkins Glen. That man, Ron Fellows, is our in-race reporter. We'll talk to him on the pace laps and get the race started next.
Maybe just a movie date would be nice.
Yeah. Zoosk, the online dating site that lets you date your way, whether you want to browse, flirt, or find your soulmate. Zoosk.com.
Tremendous success at Watkins Glen in the NASCAR Nationwide Series for our in-race reporter today. Ron Fellows, a 3-time winner at this racetrack just in this series alone. 1998, again in 2000, and oh yes, again in 2001. Rapid Ron went to victory lane, and we'll be watching and riding with Ron Fellows today here as the Nationwide Series goes to it at Watkins Glen for today's 200-mile race. A look at the starting lineup across the top of the screen as the cars get set to roll off from the pit lane. Signal being given to them now to head out onto the racetrack. And when we get to that 5th starting spot is where you'll see car 5, and that's Ron Fellows. DJ?
Hey, Ron, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Copy.
All right, Ron. Hey, thanks for talking with us today. And our first question comes from our ESPN mailbag in Domingo in Vista, California. Asks, since you've raced sports cars in most of your career, how different is driving a sports car compared to a stock car?
Well, the biggest difference, Dale, is these cars are much heavier, don't have as much downforce, not nearly as much tire. There's a lot more finesse involved here. They're in a lot of ways, it's actually more difficult to run the stock cars, but I sure have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, speaking of how difficult that is, and you're starting up towards the front, but you'll have to pass some cars today. Do you have a favorite spot on this racetrack that as you look at the race today, that this is where I would like to make the majority of my passes?
Well, in the past, the traditional places are certainly turn 1, and then the bus stop. The bus stop's a little more difficult now that they've flattened out the curbing, but those are the two primary places.
All right, Ron, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later on in the race. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dale. I just want to give a quick shout out to Jeremy Dale, a buddy of mine. He's recovering in Toronto in the hospital.
And we wish Jeremy well. Jeremy, longtime road racer of great success. Look at some of the other onboards that we have lined up for you today to give you some great looks in this race. Besides Ron Fellows, we've got shots where we can see drivers shifting gears. We've got that over-the-shoulder shot where you can see the whole picture of them at work and where they're going. We've got the foot cam. That one's in Paul Menard's car.
Love that shot.
So some great drivers and some great angles for us to ride on board and see the action today here at Watkins Glen. From pit road, before we go green, Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Alan. Since you normally do not lose a lap when you pit on a road course, pit strategy here involves a couple of simple calculations. For example, fuel mileage. Now here in Kyle Busch's pits, these guys have figured out that Kyle can go on the average of about 30 laps on fuel. Now you take that number and you subtract it from the race number. 82 laps is the race checkered flag. You back it up now, that's lap 52, which means that's your last stop. You subtract 30 more, that's lap 22, probably the first time we'll see Kyle on pit road. Why is that important? Well, here, if you can pit under green and be the first guy on pit road, you're the last guy out there when everyone else pits, which means you will win the race. And oh, by the way, all of that sounds simple unless weather gets involved. Alan?
And, Doc, we factor all of that into a look at our Goodyear track facts for Watkins Glen here today. And, yes, Andy, the weather is going to factor into that strategy.
Well, they're going to be watching these radar screens just to see it. But this strategy is what it's all about, to maintain track position on a road course.
Yeah, we talked about those number of turns. All of these are high-speed corners, so you have to be very precise in hitting your marks.
Because of the weather, NASCAR earlied up the command to start engines by 5 minutes. They've also knocked one pace lap off. So we're going to be coming to the start in a little over one more lap. So a quick break before we go green at Watkins Glen. The NASCAR Nationwide Series going road course racing in just one more lap. Historic Watkins Glen International with the NASCAR Nationwide Series is about to get the green flag. Quick stories from pit road before the start. Here's Dave Burns.
Alan, Jason Leffler has had a love-hate relationship with Watkins Glen International. Last year was certainly in the latter category. The lap 24 crash, one of the more violent that we've seen at this 7-turn, 2.45-mile road course. Fast forward to today's qualifying where Jason will start 9th on the grid. It's his best start ever here, and with some luck, that speed, and a little strategy, he might post his best finish here at Watkins Glen. Vince Welch.
It's not just the first time in a long time for Jimmy Johnson in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. It's also the first time he's ever worked with this crew chief, Chris Heroy. Heroy, who carries the nickname Sunshine, or Shine for short, in the Cup Garage, has handled the crew chief role in the Nationwide Series just twice before. His regular job is as an engineer on Mark Martin's Cup car. Also today, Dale Jr.'s Cup crew will pit this car. So a lot of new dynamics working on the 7 team today. How it plays out for Jimmy Johnson should be worth watching. Shannon Spate.
From that fractured ankle. He's turned his number 22 Nationwide car over to Sprint Cup champion Kurt Busch. I asked Todd Gordon about working with Busch here. He says he has 3 poles, 1 win. This is a great opportunity for us to get a win. Alan?
All right, Shannon, thanks. The Busch brothers on the front row. First time brothers have been on the front row since 2002 when the Green brothers did it. Coming down for the start. Most important thought here, watch out for turn 1. Green flag. this time.
They made it through turn 1. Let's see how they do it through the S's. They finally do get single file. It's a hard place to be. Double file is up through these S's, very narrow.
Back straightaway first time, and now the hard braking for the inner loop.
Yeah, see who tries to take advantage of this opportunity right here to get a little track position early.
You'll hear some people call that the bus stop during the day. Now the outer loop. Some will call it the carousel. Turn 5.
This has been a tricky part of the track this week. Got a new tire here that's got a little more grip, but right there seems to be where people get loose.
I think they're carrying more speed out of there and using it with that more pavement that they have. They know they have some extra runoff room over there, but it's
Stenhouse. He needed some runoff room right there. And the left-hander, that used to be gravel. He got away with one there.
One of the drivers in the championship. We talked about needing to be on a careful agenda today. But Kurt Busch said he wanted to clear his brother Kyle on the opening start. He managed to do that. Kurt leads. Single file back through there. That's James Busher in the 30 and Jason Leffler in the 38 teammates.
Really the first time James Busher has raced on a road course. Had a great qualifying run.
And Trevor Bayne in that 16 right behind him. You see the windshield wiper on Trevor Bayne's car already.
Yeah, they allow the teams to put all these things on the car before the race, and they'll actually give them one more chance if it does rain for the other teams that don't have those wipers to install them. But they have to do it on a live pit stop if we do happen to get rain.
NASCAR having rain tires here for the Nationwide Series cars. Will use them if necessary. Is that Kyle Busch's team, or was that just a windshield strut, or do they have that wiper blade on already?
I believe Kyle Busch did have. I think he's got a couple of wiper blades. I saw his car in the garage yesterday. It looked like he had 2 blades on the car yesterday.
Most of these drivers, and certainly the fans sitting here that come out for this race today, are hoping they don't encounter that situation.
That is Brian Scott trying to get a place on Andrew Ranger.
That's a very good passing opportunity, but it's very risky. We heard earlier about wheel hop, and that's where the most danger is for wheel hop is getting in turn 1.
Yeah, and anytime that you pull to the right side to try to make that pass, you're taking a chance of that driver not knowing how far up you're there because he's paying attention to what he has to do. So it's very difficult sometimes. You have to be extremely careful.
Kyle Busch is going to know Carl Edwards is there. He's been right on his bumper.
This for the race lead. Kyle, of course, filling in for Brad Keselowski. Keselowski injured in that testing crash at Road Atlanta a week and a half ago, then winning the Sprint Cup race last Sunday in Pocono. But Penske Racing, in my opinion, Brad would probably disagree, but in my opinion, wisely deciding to give Brad this Saturday off.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a good choice. You see Kyle closing in on his brother Kurt right there in the 22 car. But, yeah, Brad Keselowski needs as much time off as he possibly can. Now he's got himself with that second win and situated inside the top 20 in the Cup Series with one of those wild card berths.
And the physical demands of racing on a road course.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult because you have to run across these curbings, and Brad's going to have a long day tomorrow, but 2 days of that would be tough. This doesn't seem like it may be that much, but it really throws you around, especially this part of the racetrack right here where we see the leaders going through. That's one of the worst places, bouncing to the left and to the right.
Yeah, because the speed through that section of the track is going over those curbs. You've got to hit them just right, but you have to take those inside tires and put them on the curbs.
Now, I want to back up just for a second and talk about the rain contingencies for the Nationwide Series. There are rain tires on hand for the Nationwide Series. They will not be used in the event of rain for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race tomorrow. If the rain were to begin, NASCAR would put the caution out for the rain. When pit road is opened, teams would come in. They would have to mount, at their option, a wiper blade. They must have a working marker light in the rear window of the car, and then bolt on the rain tires.
We're not going to have to worry about it, though. I think we're going to be good.
You're confident?
Yep. If I'm up on the box, I'm going to plan on a dry track for the rest of the road.
All right, all the way through. watching the radar, there is some stuff out there, but it's a bit away from here.
Yeah, really. Now Carl, look at Carl. He's looking on the inside, trying to outbrake Kyle. Kyle not falling for it, though.
Yeah, really hard to outbrake Kyle Busch into one of these corners, but it's interesting to see exactly where these drivers are a little bit better than the others. You see, Kyle, this has been a strong point for him to get him a little breathing room from Carl, but Carl really seems to be good from turn 2 and up through the S's and able to gain. At some point in time, if he gets enough of a run, he'll be able to make that pass or get beside of Kyle going up to the interloop.
As a driver, when that guy ahead of you drops 2 wheels and kicks up that little bit of dust going over the curb, is that distracting?
Yeah, huge distraction. Yeah, you don't know how much of it is gotten on the racetrack. You slip. It doesn't take a lot just to slip here. These guys are running so much on the edge as it is, and it just takes a little bit to get you in trouble, but it's more of just a distraction for that split second.
You see everybody kind of running about the same speed, running the same line. These brakes will start getting hot as they go, and that's when you're going to see maybe one guy's brakes go just a little sooner than the others. That's when they'll take advantage of that turn 1 opportunity.
The race for the lead, a 3-car breakaway for the moment. The Busch brothers, Kurt and Kyle, with Carl Edwards in tow early in the going in the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen. Welcome back to the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. 7 laps complete, 75 to go. Race for the lead there. The Busch brothers, Kurt in the 22, Kyle in the 18, being pursued by Carl Edwards. Update on Kyle Busch from Doc.
Alan chasing his older brother Kurt. He has told his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, as he's trying to get up closer to Kurt, he said, you know, his front tires finish the corner better than mine. From the middle off, he has much more grip and can finish the corner where I can't. And DJ, I got to ask you, from a driver's standpoint, that's got to be a little bit frustrating. And Andy, from a crew chief standpoint, how do you fix it?
That's tough. You really need to get the car to turn well. The problem with these road courses is you got to have that forward drive off the corner. I really believe that they can free the car up a little bit and help that. It will help both situations, though.
Yeah, you're probably right there. And as a driver, you're trying to get yourself a little bit of air on the nose, but you know that you have to have the car to turn if you're going to make a run, because you set up a pass by getting off of the corner so that you can get that position by the time you get to the next corner.
So there are the top 3. You see the gap back to 4th place Ron Fellows.
You see right there.
Waiting on that. Kyle was waiting on that one slip, and he took advantage of it.
Can he hold him off right here, though? Kurt's really good through this part of the corner.
New leader, Kyle Busch.
Now he's the hunted.
Yeah, that shows what happens. You talk about having to run across those strips and those curbings, and that's exactly what happens. If you catch it just a little bit wrong, try to get back in the gas too soon or carry a little too much speed, then it throws you sideways, and it only takes a little slip when you've got guys right on your bumper.
Can Kurt counter under braking in turn 1? Not this time.
Whoa, Kyle over the curb right here. That's the spot that you want to be in as you go to turn 2 and then up through the S's.
Better close that door quick,
yeah, because here comes Carl. And Carl will be looking to take advantage of this, getting up into the interloop. Pulls out, trying to get that little slingshot. He's there.
You know, Kyle got passed by Marcus Ambrose there one time. He's not going to let that happen again.
That's some good, hard racing early here.
That was fun. So, 2 laps, 2 lead changes there between the Busch brothers.
And then we got traffic ahead. So, what's coming up?
Hey, he talked about just that one slip out at the interloop. Here was the first change of the lead.
Watch Kurt Busch. He's leading now.
So he caught just a little too much curb on the first one.
Yeah, and he's talking about exactly what Kyle was talking about, that Kurt's car turning really good. That really hindered him right there. So looking here from Carl Edwards.
Well, he got a good show.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. Then they went down to turn 1, and it changed again.
Carried just a little too much speed off of turn 1. Kyle did. Kyle does a good job not to lose more than one spot in that situation.
See how all of that's kind of separated the 3 cars where they were literally nose to tail, but a little bit of space there. That won't last for long. If that point, when you're racing that hard, you use up a lot of brake. You have to understand that you still have a lot of racing to go to over 70 laps. You don't want to heat your brakes up too much at this point in time.
There are the top three, then fourth place, the red car, the 5 Ron Fellows, and Jimmy Johnson running fifth, Vince.
Well, and DJ was talking about the brakes, and Jimmy said that's been one of the biggest differences for him and in the adjustments for him from this car to the Cup car. This, of course, the Nationwide car, it's lighter, it's got more aerodynamic drag, and he said it stops quicker. And that's been an adjustment for him throughout practice and qualifying. Right now, the car's a little free, but he's been fast. Dave?
Vince, Ron Fellows knows what he wants out of a car on a road course. So I asked Tony Uri Jr. this morning, did you give him anything overnight before qualifying here that he really requested on the car? And he goes, yeah, something that we had at one time in the car, but we took out of it. He said Ron went away, got to thinking about it, and he thought, you know what? I really liked the feel of the car when we had that in there. I think it was a nose weight change that they ended up making. So Ron, happier with it, qualified fifth, hasn't said much on the radio, just focusing on the race. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks. Fellows running 6 seconds behind leader Kurt Busch at the moment. Now, Jimmy Johnson being in a Nationwide Series race is a rare occurrence. Jimmy, why run this race today?
I want more reps on road courses. I really, really, really enjoy running on road courses and want to be more proficient in our Cup car. And I just want to do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Junior needs the help, needs somebody in the car, and it's going to be a win-win for everyone. So go out there and run some laps and have some fun.
So he's saying the 5-time champ needs more seat time?
Needs more reps.
Yep. How about that?
Well, when it is something you only do a couple of times a year.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the key.
It's just kind of weird that he's saying he needs more seat time.
Yeah.
He's a 5-time Cup champion.
Well, the other thing he said is the fact that I've only got one Nationwide win really sticks in my craw, and I want to change that. Johnson running fifth now, behind the Busch brothers. That first round of pit stops, believe it or not, is not all that far away. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN and ESPN2. First on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern. The Rockies take on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Then on Monday Night Baseball, the Giants face the Braves on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. It's Major League Baseball, ESPN Sunday and ESPN2 Monday night. Both games also available online at ESPN3.com. Early going in Watkins Glen for the NASCAR Nationwide Series today. Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch running 1 and 2 right there. Kurt subbing for Brad Keselowski today in the Penske 22. Open up a little bit of a gap on third place, Carl Edwards. Joey Logano running back in 8th position right now, Shannon.
And Joey Logano finished second in this race last season. It was his best road course finish. However, he's always looking to improve. And this week he's been working with road course specialist Max Pappas. All week, Max has been on the radio talking Joey through. He's actually up in the spotter stand right now. And this is the advice he had for Logano a couple laps ago.
Joey, focus on using the rear end of the car. Rear end of the car. That's a good part of the car. Smooth into the corner, Joey. Smooth and fast, not deeper in the corner.
Logano says that 20 car just lacking front grip. But guys, he's running 3 series this week, Grand Am, Cup, and Nationwide. So a lot of laps for Joey Logano.
Rusty Wallace, if you're going to have a road course coach, Max Pappas is a good one to have, huh?
Yeah, he's a good coach, no doubt about that. But, Alan, I like what he said about Joey, use the back of the car. On road courses, you tend to sling the car from left to right. And I always kind of use this term, it's called body English. It's taking your body of the car and throwing it to the left, throwing it to the right, and actually, tossing the car around. You can do that on a road course, and that's exactly what Max is talking about. Just don't drive in the corner, turn the wheel, use the back of the car, use your brakes, use all this body English I'm talking. I know Dale Jarrett knows exactly what I'm talking about, because Dale, when you and I did this, you had to drive that way.
Yeah, you're right, Rusty, and you did it a lot better than I did, but I understand what you're talking about, and you do just have to sling these cars around, and that's what this type of racing is all about. But it makes it more difficult if the front's not sticking the way that you want it to get that back to go where you want it to go.
You just want to be the boss as a driver. You got to make that car do what you want it to do.
Shannon mentioned that Joey Logano running 3 series this weekend, this Nationwide Series race, one of them, the Sprint Cup race tomorrow, another. He's also running the NASCAR Rolex Grand Am Series race in the GT class. Let's just say Friday didn't go as well as he wanted.
Yeah, he might not be racing this car.
That's Joey in this 31. And it really went wrong.
Yeah, man, that was a qualifying run. He was out there on another lap. He had already set a fast time, trying to go around a slower car. But, man, did he tear that thing up.
Kyle Busch with a bunch of grass on the grill, Doc.
And a lot of steam pouring out of the front of this car. They got to get the grill clean. Lots of grass. They're going to take some wedge out to try to free the car up, Andy, as you had called, to make the car freer, get off the corner. But very, very hot. Steam pouring out. Got to get it full of fuel and get that grill clean. Came down like 3 laps early, guys.
Yeah, and that could hurt him, Doc, because he can't make it now on the one more stop. And that's going to maybe hurt him in his chances.
Here's what happened that got all that grass up on that front splitter for Kyle Busch.
Well, he's been running behind his brother quite a bit, and then he runs through right. Oh, man, that's a lot of grass.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he had no choice but to get that thing down quickly.
Yeah,
get it cleaned up.
No out of bounds or anything. You can make that corner as straight as you want to. Obviously, it's not the proper way to go through there because you can see what happens with these splitters. Just clogs up the grill in a hurry. He'll have to go into some fuel conservation mode a little bit now, Andy.
Yeah, he will. He won't be able to run it as hard as he would like to. He may be able to stretch this and make it on one more stop, which would keep him on his strategy. But he will have to go into a conservation mode in both segments, not just the last one.
Here's the interesting part about that. Kyle and his brother Kurt had moved away from the pack so much that he made that green flag stop, came back out, and he's only fallen to 16th place.
Well, that's the way it works, and that's why these road course strategies are the way they are, is because you don't lose a lap. You can get in, you can get out, make these tire changes and fuel up, and then you don't get lapped, and the caution comes out, you just stay out.
I'm not sure how much fuel he's saving right now.
He's not saving any fuel. Not now, anyway.
Now, Carl Edwards up to second place.
Get the water buffalo ready.
Get the water buffalo ready, the big tank that forces water into the car when it's overheating. Doc, how about Carl Edwards?
He definitely has that issue, Alan. He said a moment ago, water temperature 280 and rising. And just now he said water temperature 300 and rising. He said, we got to come now. So they're going to come down, try to get the grill clean, and try to put some water in it.
Yeah, that 300 mark is the highest that you really want to run these cars. They don't have blow-off systems where they'll lose as much water as you would normally see in your passenger car, but they do need to get that thing cooled down.
Obviously didn't make out all of what Carl said on the radio transmission there, or what was said to Carl. Tim Brewer in our Craftsman Tech Garage can show us a little more on that system they use to get water into one of these cars. Tim?
Thanks, AB. First thing when they come in, they've got a valve right here at the top of the radiator. What he's going to do, he's going to plug one hose into this area right here, another one into here. What he's trying to do is replenish the water supply, and he's got a sight glass over here. This is the way you're going to find out if you've got all the water back in the system before you send the car back on the racetrack to cool the engine.
Yeah, he's going to have a pretty good pressure system to put the water in because it's under about 30 or 40 pounds, maybe up to 50 pounds of pressure. So you got to force the water in.
260. We're looking good, guys. We're looking good. We did not push any water.
Carl Edwards here talking to the crew a moment ago, talking about the fact that, hey, if I come now, how close are we on fuel? And Mike Beam said we cannot make it on one more stop. So Carl going to try to milk it at least a couple more laps, at least one more lap, to try to be able to get where he can come in and get there on one final fuel stop. AB.
All right, thanks, Doc. So we'll keep an eye on Carl Edwards. Not that far away from scheduled pit stops for the race leaders. Kurt Busch out in front of Carl by 6.8 seconds. At this point, the race for the lead has been adventure-filled in these last few laps. Still early on, though, in the going at Watkins Glen in the Zippo 200. Watkins Glen and the first round of green flag pit stops for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Vince?
The 6-car Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the points leader. They've been concerned because he's got front end damage. They're making a 4-tire change, taking a good look at that front end damage and keeping an eye on the water pressure.
Steve Wallace heading out. Eric Almirola, Brian Scott also on and off pit road. Joe Nemechek leaving. Jimmy Johnson looking for that unfamiliar number 7, Doc.
Carl Edwards, that the temperature has come down to 260. They're going to clean the grill but leave the tape on it. Air pressure change, 4 tires and away. Vince.
Jimmy Johnson has been running in the top 5, likes the car, but says it's a little too loose, so they're going to make an air pressure change. 4 tires for the 7 of Jimmy Johnson being pitted by Dale Jr.'s Cup crew.
Uh-oh.
He'll be coming back. Equipment leaving the pit box.
It took
you
a
see
long
it get
time.
stuck. Well, yeah, it took a long time to get the fuel in, and then the can got stuck. Tried to leave it in just a little too long. Doc.
Reed Sorensen in for 4 tires, and fuel reaches the car. He's just a little bit tight in the middle of the corner off, trying to be very clean and uneventful. Remember, he's sitting second in the points. He's to get away here with a top 10 today.
Kurt Busch, your pole sitter, he's bringing that number 22 car in right now, driving, of course, for Brad Keselowski. He says he's tight to the left and loose to the right, but told Todd Gordon, don't make any major changes. This car is good. We've seen how fast he is in this race. They're going to bring it in, put 4 tires, and they told Kurt Busch to wait on fuel. Thinking about that fuel already, guys.
All right, Shannon, thanks. Stop penalty coming for Andrew Ranger, speeding on pit road. Penalty coming for Jason Leffler, removing equipment. Penalty coming, I'm sure, for... Yeah, there's the call now. Penalty coming for Jimmy Johnson, removing equipment. As you see...
All right, Jimmy, we dragged the gas can out. We got to come back. All right, bud, get all you can. We are coming back to the pits for a drive-through.
And there it is.
That's just going to cost some time on the track. It's just a drive-through. Doesn't have to stop.
Look back at what happened on that 7 pit stop that caused that gas can to go beyond that white line at the end of the pit box.
Yeah, it's ultra critical to get these cars full of fuel because of the strategy. And he left it in there just as long as he possibly could, and it just got hung. When the car took off, it just had the angle on the can, and he couldn't get it back out.
And Andy, let's talk about the fact that at Watkins Glen, the pit wall and the fueling is done driver's right. That's different than any other track all season long, except for Road America and the next, except for Road America, period.
Yeah, this is, we got a car here. I think he's got an engine problem. We heard somebody on 7 cylinders, looked like they were blowing up. It could have been Eric McClure.
Yeah, it's going to have to bring out a caution here. Very dangerous part of the racetrack.
Yes, caution right now.
No. Wow. You can see that car, his cowl flaps blew up when that car went by. Whew. I'm telling you, this is a really bad spot.
I think that made my heart rate spike
mine skipped a beat right there.
So first full course caution of this race comes out for Eric McClure's stalled car, top of the S's. And Andy, just to finish up that point about the fueler going at the car from the opposite direction than what he's used to, and maybe that contributing to that gas can getting hung.
Well, everything is backwards, and not just the fuelers, but the tire changers, everybody. A lot of opportunity for mistakes on pit road.
There were more than just the 7 car having some troubles on pit road. Mentioned Jason Leffler removing equipment from the pit box. What happened?
Well, see, they're trying to just leave that in there because they can't quite get the car full by just letting when the bubbles come up, it'll hold about another half gallon if they'll leave it in there. And that's what they're doing here. You can see all of these guys trying to leave it. Man, this is...
Same thing.
Yeah, that's risky.
That look from our over-the-wall reporter, Rick Yeomans, working on Mike Wallace's car there. So the 0-1 also the penalty for removing equipment.
It's like I said, go back to it. The reason that they're leaving it in there that long is because that half a gallon that they're talking about could be the difference in making it or not.
So with almost all of the leaders, trying to look back through here, it looks like all of the leaders had completed that cycle of pit stops before this full course caution. So we're going to see any pit stops here?
Well, you'll see pit stops, but you're not going to see a normal round of pit stops where the leaders come down and change 4 tires. It's not like an oval. That's how this strategy works. They're going to stay out there. You'll have cars that aren't handling good, that maybe didn't get it full of fuel, that may be trying to reset their strategy because they're not in position to win.
Yeah, would this be a situation, as we see the 51 car going slow here too, Jeremy Clements, but would Kyle Busch think about coming in? We only have 23 cars. He made up a lot of time. He's actually the leader of the race right now, but we know that he can't make it from here.
Well, this is where, the cars that did not pit And if there's any cars that did not pit and they pit here, they'll lose all the track position here.
The one I'm thinking about most is the 7 car that got the penalty.
If Kyle Busch's team knows that he cannot make it, then he will probably come in here and just bite the bullet and start over. But if they're thinking about, hey, this caution might help, another caution might be able to extend it where we can make it on one more stop, they'll stay out. And that's kind of telling us where they are. By staying out, we know that their strategy is going to be to try to make it on one more stop.
Pit road open. So far, no takers. So we will take a break under the first caution of the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen. The Busch brothers running 1-2. This time, though, it's Kyle out in front after green flag pit stops.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen International Raceway. 26 laps down here so far. Kyle Busch is your leader. We have a special guest, though, in the studio today. It's the usual driver of the 22 car today that's being piloted by Kurt Busch. Is because Brad Keselowski is still recovering from that testing accident last week, at Watkins Glen. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm glad to. I made it up the stairs, so that was a major accomplishment.
We watched you get in. It's a little ginger.
This thing is really high up, so you probably can't tell that, but made it up the stairs and got a decent lap in and qualified for the Cup side. And watching my teammate Kurt, looks like he's running pretty good here.
Wow.
Well, it's been a big week for you. Of course, it started off with that testing accident, at Road Atlanta, but then you went into Pocono, and you had a pretty good weekend, young man.
Well, it was an awesome weekend, and we went there feeling like we could run real well. We went through so much trouble that we got a flat tire in practice, spun out there, and just everything we did was hard to do that whole week. But, I kind of have the saying that, if it was easy, it wouldn't be any fun. So this was a lot of fun because it was really hard to do. It was just a tough week. Everything was tough. Nothing was given to us, and we found a way to get it done and get in Victor Lane with the Miller Lite Dodge Charger.
At any point during last weekend, did you doubt your ability to be able to do all 500 miles at Pocono?
There was a couple of rough spots for sure, but you just had to find a way through it. And I knew I could make the whole race. It was whether or not I could make the whole race at 100%. And we just had to tough up and make it work.
Brad, for this weekend, I went down and talked to you yesterday. We were just kind of hanging out. You were telling me, man, my back is killing me. And it was pretty evident in your face and in your crew chief's face. You were just working on you instead of working on the car. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling now?
A little bit better. I've had some doctors come in, and they've been helping me out tremendously. I had them come in this morning. They really helped me for qualifying. But, the biggest thing that makes it so hard is the lefts, rights, and your body moves this way in the seat, then back this way in the seat. And every time it does, it hurts my back. So, and then, of course, you've got the inner loop where you're going over those big curves and you go up in the air and then land back down. All of those really hurt. So making those work is kind of a challenge.
Brad will hang out with us for a little bit, so we'll have a chance to talk to him more. But now let's get down to Vince Welch. He has more information on the 7 car.
Well, bad luck for Jimmy Johnson. They took that can out of the box, so that was a penalty, but they thought it was a drive-through penalty. That was not the case. Listen.
All right, Jimmy, you got some bad news. We're at a penalty car and just started the tail end, so.
I served my pass-through penalty. I guess maybe I don't understand the rule, but I thought it was a pass-through, which I did.
Yeah, they wanted to stop and go. That's my bad. I said pass-through, and I tried to count you in and just get it done in time.
Well, there you hear a little bit of confusion. Remember, Chris Roy and Jimmy Johnson working together for the very first time in the Nationwide Series here. And also, so they just brought Jimmy Johnson in just a moment ago, topped him off with fuel, and also put some tape on the front end to try to help out some of the handling and temperature issues that they've dealt with here in the early going.
Right now, 22 car lined up next to his brother. That's how they started, but in reverse order. Brad, how hard is it for you to sit here and watch your car run up front?
It's difficult, but it's good to know they have a fast car here. The whole Ruby Tuesday Discount Tire Dodge team has been plugging away. Jock Villeneuve drove this car at Road America a few weeks ago, and it looks like it's fast.
Pace car peeling off. That means it's time for the green flag. Alan?
All right, Nicole, thanks. The Busch brothers.
Not yet. Stacking up. Green flag.
And remember, the trouble spot in turn 1 on a lot of these restarts. Oh, look at that move from the outside by Kurt Busch. Did he clear his brother? Not yet.
Uh-oh. Man, that was a good save by Kurt Busch. Contact from Carl. that would have been a really bad spot to get turned around because the whole field's coming.
And nowhere to go.
Nowhere.
And again, the big braking zone at the inner loop. Now, look all the way at the back of that pack. See that yellow car there? That's the 32. That's Reed Sorensen, one of the championship contenders, speeding exiting pit road on his stop. He had to go to the back of the line. We talked about Jimmy Johnson going to the back of the line. Mike Wallace had to go to the back of the line for that removing equipment penalty. It's kind of a parade to the back on that last lap of caution.
Yeah, and the back of the field right now is a pretty big penalty because there's really only 23 cars on the lead lap, but they had to go behind everybody on the track, which is all the way back to 37 cars.
Brad Kozlowski with us down in the pit studio with Rusty, Brad, and Nicole. Brad, when your teammate there, Kurt, ran that big charge to the outside on that restart, did you hold your breath like I did?
A little bit, but Kurt's smart. He knows that Kyle's off cycle right now, and he's going to need a lot of help to get back in this race. Although he's leading and he's got a very fast car, he's off cycle fuel-wise. He's got to make an extra stop unless there's a lot of yellow laps. So Kurt knows the race can play out in his favor. He just needs to keep his car in one piece.
Looking. Or just advertising.
Yeah, I think he's just working him over here a little bit, making him look in the mirror.
And making him run hard and use fuel, just in case they were having thoughts of saving any fuel at this point in time. He's going to dog him, and Kyle wants to keep out front. He's going to have to run hard, and that uses a lot of fuel.
Not going to be out front long. Looks like Kurt's got a little better car. Shannon?
Yeah, guys. When I caught up with Todd Gordon, of course, the crew chief for Kurt Busch today in this race, he told me that they were just decent in practice. And, of course, they were in the top 5. I said, decent? And he said, look at Kurt's record here. We want to go out and we want to win this race. And I certainly think that we can see that by the way Kurt Busch is racing out there right now.
Kurt Busch's record here in 2 tries, 2 poles, a win, and a third. He got the 3rd pole in qualifying earlier.
He's got 3 poles in the Nationwide Series, all 3 of them right here.
All over, brother Kyle. That's got to be, I don't know, a combination of fun and awkward. I mean, I have 2 sisters. I don't have a brother. I don't know what it's like to be in that kind of family competition. Can you give me an idea? Is it a little different?
Yeah, I had the chance to race with my brother Glenn some, and I always looked at it as fun and kind of more friendly competition. Don't know that we were ever racing for the lead like these 2 guys, so that made it quite a bit different. But these guys don't seem to hold back on each other. We've seen them actually back a couple years ago at the All-Star race take each other out during that race. So they're hard racers, and they are brothers, but they like to win.
Kyle got away a little bit there. Brad, how about you? Situations racing your brother Brian over the years at all?
Yeah, there's been plenty of those, and sometimes Mom had to intervene and let us know. We actually got to where we got so competitive that we had to race at different tracks growing up so we wouldn't get in a fight with each other. So, it's good. It means a lot as family when you race against your family and with them. One of the biggest things and highlights of my career was pushing my brother into the Daytona 500 this year. That was something I'll never forget, and those are the special moments you can have as a family in racing.
You mentioned 18 car and his fuel strategy. Doc is in the pits with Jason Ratcliffe as crew chief.
Yeah, Alan, reminding folks they had to come in on lap 17 because of grass on the grill and the water temperature rising about 4 or 5 laps shy. Jason, you guys came in 5 laps early. How close are you on fuel now, making it on one more stop?
Well, obviously those caution laps helped quite a bit, so that... We pitted about 5 laps too early. That helped about half of it, and we got a little bit better fuel mileage too. So I think it's going to work out. We're going to have to gamble on the last stop. Probably pit a little sooner than we want to, but we'll see. If we get caution laps late in the race, it'll be a wash. It won't hurt us at all. The thing we're watching right now is we lost some water, so we got to keep an eye on that.
All right, we're hearing they're going to go maybe to lap 50 or 51 and come in and gamble to make it to the checkered flag. Alan?
All right, Doc, thanks. So you see we're at lap 33 now. We'll keep an eye and see if the 18 goes till that 51 mark, and if they could go from there till the 82-lap scheduled finish of this event. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch leading, Edwards, Fellows, and Elliott Sadler running 5th, not quite halfway through the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen.
Home of The biggest events in motorsports, ESPN and ABC.
And today, ESPN is in the Finger Lakes region of New York. Always a great spot to be in summertime and always a spot for some great racing action on the road course at Watkins Glen. This one so far today for the NASCAR Nationwide Series has been a battle of the Busch brothers. Kyle getting in trouble, getting grass on his grill and overheating early, having to make an early pit stop. But then a caution came out and cycled everybody back together. And Kyle has assumed the lead in this race. Now, we talked with the 18 team about cautions late in the race. Here's the cautions in the final third of the race over the last 5 years. And you see the number of caution laps widely varies.
Yeah, that's what they're using as a history to see how much they can gamble here. And they kind of know that there are going to be caution laps in that last segment.
And for them, they need the numbers to be bigger, on the bigger side of that scale than smaller.
Yeah, because we might, and we've seen it, have more than one green-white checker finish. See Reed Sorensen on pit road.
So Fellows has closed up on those top three, where in the early part of the race, the top three had kind of gotten away.
Yeah, I think Ron Fellows, you got to watch him. I mean, he's just so good here, but he knows he has to take care of his equipment, and he knows to make passes on these guys towards the end, he's going to need a lot of brake, and he's one that knows how to use that brake.
This is one of the hardest tracks on the circuit on brakes, and what happens is if you try to get all out of your car that it has at this point, you're not going to have what you need at the end, and that's how you make that pass, is getting down into turn one, getting into the inner loop. And if you can just ride like Ron's doing, I think Ron's just kind of riding, taking it easy on the brakes, and when he needs to use them, they'll be there.
What are they saying in the 5 pit, Dave?
So let's check in with Tony Uri Jr., crew chief at Ron Fellows, number 5. Kind of looks like he's just stalking back there. Did you improve the car for him on that stop?
I think we got the car a little bit better. We need to get a little bit better forward drive off of one, but got one more pit stop, it looks like, here. But, just take care of his stuff, and hopefully we'll have enough here at the end.
It would take a 33-lap run to get you to the window we talked about earlier today. Can you go that far?
Yeah, we can handle that pretty easy.
All right, they were talking about lap 55 earlier as possibly their last stop. Shannon?
Well, calling the shots for Kurt Busch, Todd Gordon. You guys were smoking fast at the beginning of this race when you were out front. How is the car right now with Kyle leading?
I'm a little loose to the right. Make a little adjustment for that on the last stop here, and I think he's just need to get that tightened up a little bit. We'll be all right.
Make it on one more stop?
Yeah, I think we can make it on one stop.
All right, Alan.
All right, thanks, Shannon. And while we're hearing these interviews from pit road, Andy Petrie's sitting up here and his hands are flying in the air okay.
Well, it's just that you hear Ron Fellows and Tony Uri Jr. talking about fuel. If I was gambling on anybody on the track, it would be that 5 making it farther than anybody, because that car seems to get better mileage than anybody in the series. You see, Ricky Stenhouse has got some damage to the front of this car, running into the back of somebody. Shouldn't be a real big problem because the grill intake is down far below that.
Now, Stenhouse and the guy right behind him, Reed Sorensen, 2 of the top 3 in the Nationwide Series Championship. Other guy, Elliott Sadler, is up in 5th position, so they're a little bit at a deficit right now, Vince.
Well, in that 6 car, they've been concerned. You see the front end damage. They've had a front fender repaired and ready to put on that car, but they've decided to let it go because they don't feel like it's affecting on the ill side of that car from a temperature or an oil temperature perspective or an aero at this point. Mike Kelly said, I just don't think it's worth it to come in and make the change now, but they're keeping a close eye on it.
Well, we've seen the Roush teams have some engine problems. I know Ricky Stenhouse won a really exciting race last week in Iowa, but he did blow an engine coming to the line. Trevor Bain blew an engine at the short track over at Indianapolis. So they had to make sure that they didn't get this car hot.
Stenhouse and Sorensen had been on pit road recently, along with Justin Allgaier, Kenny Wallace, Mike Wallace, a couple of others. Here's Elliott Sadler on the pit road, Vince.
Well, this is a bad break for this 2 team because they've been running in the top 5, but it's just too hot, overheating. So you see they're cleaning off the front of the grill. They took some tape off the front as well, Alan.
We talked about this at the beginning of the race, that a lot of these cars would be on different agendas, and we're seeing these points leaders being very conservative with these cars, not wanting to blow an engine.
And rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're doing the right thing, getting that thing in there, make sure they get all the debris off the grills.
But boy, it really bad break for Elliott Sadler there. He'd really been able to, by running up there in the top 5 with the other 2 guys having problems, Stenhouse and Reed Sorensen, able to pick up a lot of points, but this is going to put him back there. He'll probably still be just ahead of them, but kind of unfortunate.
He was running 5th at the time he hit the pit lane. And we'll see where Sadler cycles out here in just a minute. Brad Keselowski with us down in the pit studio. And Brad, when you're behind the wheel of one of these races and all these people are pitting and doing all these things around you, is it hard to keep track of where you're at in your race?
Oh, it's hard to keep your focus because, you start, the 60 car up off the track, but it's hard to keep focus of where you're at, and you're thinking to yourself, don't leave me out here too long, guys. Don't leave me out here too long, and you kind of start to panic. So you want to make that right pit call, and it can really make a big difference in your day.
Hey, Brad, I talked to you a little bit yesterday, but you alluded to it a little bit about the challenges that you're going to face tomorrow inside of that race car. And is there something that's giving you more difficulty, and have you changed anything on your race car inside there since you got here yesterday and started practice?
Well, yeah, definitely, Dale. The left to right movement inside the car has probably been the biggest difference. And, I was able to do a couple different things to keep my body from moving quite so much to the left, because usually it moves to the right, and you start to build muscles through your side, to be ready for that when you run oval races all the time, but you don't build that when you run road course races. So put in a lot of different left side padding, trying to keep the core of my body firm and in the same spot in the seat.
Watching this race between Steve Wallace in 66 and Jason Leffler in 38. A couple of the Nationwide Series championship eligible drivers. They are running in 14th and 15th at the moment.
Got a little history this year. Yeah, you always find yourself around that person. It's amazing how that happened. It's like Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch, as good as they run, and these two drivers running well, but always find themselves around each other on the track for these type of things, or those type of things to happen that they've had at other times this year.
Talked to Steve Wallace some on Friday here, and he said that the goal for the day is pretty simple. Keep the fenders clean, keep the car on the racetrack, do your pit strategy, and you'll probably end up somewhere pretty good at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that his dad, Rusty, had a talk with him and said that's what we need to do as we see this battle for 5th right here. But that's a lot easier said than done when you get out there racing, because there's just so many opportunities to slip just a little, and then you find yourself in serious trouble.
Paul Menard started 7th. He's just kind of methodically working his way up. Now he's moved up to 5th.
Joey Logano dropping back one spot. How about that 33, Dave?
Interesting thing, Alan, is that he does not have the overheating problem that his teammate does have. And part of that is staying on the track all the time, or not being behind the guy that doesn't stay on the track. But the water temperature is very good for Paul right now. When he came down the pit lane on lap 23, they did a wedge and air pressure adjustment. Car was just a little bit tighter in the center than he wanted, a little bit freer off. He was just asked if the changes helped, and he said it was slow at first, but now it's coming around.
Yeah, Paul was really excited about the opportunity that Kevin Harvick gave him to run this race, because he knows it's going to help him for tomorrow. He's a good road racer, but he knows how important this race is tomorrow for his Cup opportunity to try to use that wild card spot or get himself situated in the top 10.
Heard from the team owner, Delana Harvick and Kevin Harvick on NASCAR Countdown earlier today. Paul Menard running in the top 5. The leader's Kyle Busch by that much over the 22. Today being driven by Kurt Busch. We're at halfway at Watkins Glen.
Back at Watkins Glen, we are more than halfway through, and it has been the Busch brothers today. They started 1-2. That's how they run right now.
Oh, they've been running hard back and forth, and both of them got really fast, good handling cars. You seen kind of Kyle Busch driving a little bit aggressive, been in the grass. He's been up against the wall a little bit, but Kurt's been holding it pretty steady.
Fueling issues have been a problem today.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson comes down, he gets the can stuck. We see Jason Leffler. Both of those guys had equipment leaving the pit area, and that is a penalty. Both of them had to go to the back of the field.
Looking at the point situation here, Reed Sorensen came into the day in second, but when you go through the grass, you're going to collect something on your front grill. Brad Keselowski is with us in the pit studio today. Ooh. Not good.
No, definitely not good. And it's so hard to stay on the track when you're pushing, trying to get the best lap times you can, trying to make up some ground, and mistakes happen. And when they happen here, you pay a big price.
That's your 5-hour energy rapid recap. Kyle Busch on a little bit different pit strategy. He had to come in about 5 laps earlier. They believe he can make it to around lap 50, but Brad, you have doubted that all along.
That's a long ways to go, and he's definitely going to need some help from some yellows. But we've seen this race get some yellows at the end. We saw that stat that was up on the sheet earlier in the race. But, as of late, when we've seen these races here with the new car in the Nationwide Series, a lot less yellows throughout the race. So he's going to need a little bit of help, I believe, to make it. But we're going to find out.
You've also been really high on the 60 car, considering, slightly ironic, considering that's the guy that's chasing down your car.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when he's in clean air and can run, he seems to be able to run about the fastest lap time. He just hasn't found a way to get through the lap traffic and in front of the 22.
You know, we're coming through the inner loop right here, and this is the area you were concerned about. If you get off, you can really pack that grill up. And this is one thing I think you're learning today, sitting up here in the studio, seeing what not to do tomorrow.
Absolutely. You know, it's almost like it's worse on the Nationwide car for some reason. The grill opening maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit lower. Not quite sure what's going on there, but, you know, I did go off in my Cup car, and it was not too bad.
You know, earlier we saw Jimmy Johnson have that penalty. He went all the way back to 20th, Brad. He's worked his way back up to 7th. Looked like he's on the move.
Yeah, he's digging, running some fast laps, and, you know, he's got some clean air here again like we talked, and he's digging. He could be a threat by the end of this race. So I like what I see out of him.
And Vince is standing down in the 7th pit box.
Well, Jimmy says it's taken him a couple of laps to get going, but once the car comes in and the tire pressures come up, he really likes his race car. Remember, he had to go all the way to the back of the line because of that penalty, and he is getting a lot of encouragement from that man, Shine, Chris Heroy, who's his crew chief for the day. They like what they've got, and he's just picking them off one at a time.
Picking them off one at a time, and maybe if they get it right, they'll pick up a few more spots on the pit stops because they are coming up soon, Alan.
All right, Nicole, thanks. So Dale and Andy, looking at the way this race has unfolded, we talked about the mix of drivers at the top of it. So we've got the guys up front that are leading and done most of the leading all day. We've got the championship guys that almost all have made an extra pit stop, and they're kind of mired mid-pack for the moment, but they're all running together. And then we got these guys like Fellows and Jimmy Johnson and so on that are kind of sneaking back into the picture.
Yeah, setting up for a really good finish. And, you know, the strategy is going to play out. You know, and all the cards will be on the table when they make this last stop. And you can kind of tell by the guys that pit the earliest who's got the best mileage.
There's your 8th place car. Haven't mentioned him too much today.
No, but a good solid effort by Trevor Van. I think the biggest thing, we haven't seen him running off of the racetrack or anything like that. So that's getting good experience that he needs here.
Brian Scott running in 9th in the top 10 for the moment.
He's had a lot of these days.
Yeah, he's just using that strategy to stay on the track, be smooth, don't make any mistakes. If he does that, he'll get a top 10 finish more than likely.
Yeah, that's the thing they've had a hard time doing is finishing these races off. Brian Scott's a tremendous race driver. They just can't seem to get the finishes that they need.
And running right behind him in 4th position, Joe Nemechek in the 87 and Eric Almirola in the 88. Steady and solid there for Front Row Joe today.
Joe's a good road racer. He drove for me a couple of years, and we had good runs up here, Glenn.
And I mentioned Almirola. He said a top 10 today would be good for him. Road racing was not his specialty, not his thing, he said.
Well, top 10 would be really good because you have that mix of the Cup drivers who have that experience and then someone like Ron Fellows up in there too. So it makes a big difference if you can get up in the top 10. That'd be a very solid effort.
Catch up on a couple of, who's that that's slowing off the side? That is Dennis Setzer in the 70, who appears to be...
Yeah, if he's got power, well, he'll be fine. He'll just kind of blend. Yeah, he is. He's going to be able to keep going.
All right. Off the racetrack, Andrew Ranger, Eric McClure just went to the garage area. J.R. Fitzpatrick is gone to the garage area. Mark Green, J.J. Yaley, T.J. Bell, Jeff Green, Dan Clark. Those cars are behind the wall. Kyle Busch is out in front of the pack. Back at Watkins Glen, Kyle Busch back in the pack, just off the pit lane from his green flag stop at lap 50.
Well, he just pitted. It was 32 laps to go to make the stop. He ran 33 laps from his last pit stop. Using that math, he can make it if they get the cautions that we had in that segment.
Yeah, that's the key is he had a few caution laps in there to help that number.
Just a few, though. That's it. Just one caution in the race so far. This is Kyle working on Justin Allgaier for the 11th position.
You see right there, all those Turner cars, 3 of them, right in a row. James Butcher, Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, it shows just how far out front Kyle Busch was, and he could make the pit stop, go down this long pit lane at 40 miles per hour, and still come out and battle for 11th spot. Shannon?
Well, Joey Logano battling side bite. They're going to make some aggressive changes on this pit stop. But guys, also he is running hot, as are most other cars on the field. So they're going to make sure that they get that front grille cleaned off. He also has not been able to see out of that front window with so much fluid on his windshield. They did take the tear off right there. But Joey Logano down and away.
They got that grill clean though.
I'm telling you that the gas man on that car had his hands full breaking that can out of the car when it left the pit stall. And there may be something to this going from the opposite angle that's going to give these guys a handful.
It's that and the fact that they have to get it completely full of fuel. And it takes that last half gallon takes a long time. They want to leave it as long as possible.
But as we saw in the first round of pit stops, leave it that split second too long.
Yep, you're in trouble.
And you'll be carrying it with you out of the pit box. And 4 penalties for removing equipment from the pit box in the first round of pit stops, all for taking the fuel can out of the box. Here's Paul Menard, Dave.
On lap 52, Alan, we'll see if the Kevin Harvick Incorporated crew can leave everything where it's supposed to be. He'll get 4 tires. There will be an air pressure adjustment on one of those 4 tires that they'll replace. Dr. Punch.
Trevor Bayne in for his final stop. 4 tires, air pressures in the car very tight, middle of the corner off. They also have to clean the grill. His temperature rising as well. Vince.
The 88 of Eric Almirola. 4 straight top 5 finishes, running well again today in the top 10. He needs a little bit more rear grip, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment, a 4-tire change for the 88 of Eric Almirola.
Right there, the bubbles coming up in the vent hose of the can. They want to let all of those bubbles come out of there and try to get it full. Looks like they did on that car.
Also pitting was Joe Nemechek on this lap. So Almirola rejoins the race, and Kurt Busch continues to lead with Carl Edwards just a skosh behind him. Here's Ron Fellows in for his stop. Dave?
There'll be a wedge adjustment for that car. They're going to clean the grill as well for Ron. The car was just a little bit loose for him.
Make sure you get the grill on
Sunoco fuel being added on the right side of that car. Fueler nodding that it's good to go, and he's out of here. Alan?
Little trouble on the left rear coming around the car. Cost them just a tick of time.
But they did get it full of fuel. I'm telling you, that is ultra critical for this last run.
I think the 22 and 60 staying out another lap or 2 here are anticipating possibly green, white checker or something like that, getting a little bit more right here.
Well, it's either that or their mileage just isn't good enough to make the stop now. I mean, it's still 29 laps to go. They may not feel good about making it to the end. And yes, Dale, they probably are thinking about a green, white checker.
As crazy as the finish of these road course races have been, that's probably a smart call. Here's Carl Edwards in, Doc.
Hey, guys, you're both right. Carl Edwards not getting good fuel mileage, and yes, keeping me out one more lap, worried about a green-white checker, trying to get it completely full of Sunoco fuel. 4 tires, air pressure, tight in the middle, and by the way, water temperature 280 and going up. But Jack Brown said, that's okay, clean the grill, we're away. Vince.
The 7 car of Jimmy Johnson, remember, they had to go all the way to the back because of a penalty. They've run their way all the way back up to the front. They warned him about that 39 car that just pulled out in front of him. That delayed him a bit. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment. It took the car a few laps to come in, and he wasn't happy with that. But otherwise, the car has been real good for Jimmy. He's raced his way back up into the top 10. The 7 car of Jimmy Johnson has been real strong with Chris Roy as crew chief today. The 30 of James Buescher. They've been dealing with handling issues throughout the afternoon. They've been losing rear grip. It feels like it gets worse as the run goes. They too are going to make an air pressure adjustment with that 4-tire change and Sunoco fuel for James Buescher in the 30 car. The 2 car of Elliott Sadler. He says it's tight in the right-handers. Elliott's had a good day today. He's running the top 5 much of the day, in the top 10 now before that stop. 4 tires, air pressure, and Sunoco fuel for Elliott Sadler. Shannon Spake.
Well, Kurt Busch has been pretty quiet on the radio during this latest run, but you heard his crew chief Todd Gordon say the handling was just a little bit off. They are going to make a track bar adjustment on this pit stop. They're going to put 4 tires and pack it full of Sunoco fuel. Guys?
All right, so Kurt in that first stall on the pit lane, how does he blend in with brother Kyle? What will essentially be for the race lead off the pit lane. Kyle's at the start-finish line now.
Go get that grill. Get that grill.
And there he goes by.
Go, 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 go.
Looks like Kyle will definitely keep the lead.
And then some.
Yeah, he had an extra few laps there on new tires, making pretty good laps to be able to make up some more ground on his brother Kurt.
He's able to stay just in front of Carl Edwards there. Kurt Busch was.
Okay, now that they've made these stops, they're kind of okay. That didn't really hurt them to stay out longer. But risking that was if the caution did come out during that cycle, they would be really at a disadvantage. But it didn't, so they're good.
Remember, just before the pit stops, we saw Paul Menard get by Joey Logano. Now here's Menard again, finding himself behind that 20 car and trying to find a way around. This is for 7th and 8th places.
Yeah, Joey Logano wasn't that good at the start of this race. I think some adjustments they've made have made his car a lot better. Able to get in front of Menard now.
See, Menard been working him all day long. See right here how he does it with the pedals. I love this shot. So he just burps the throttle to upshift. Hard on the brakes. You have to pop that throttle just a little bit to downshift.
You see him testing that brake too as he gets to these high-speed places, just making sure it's there for him.
Probably pretty smart.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what happened to Brad Keselowski. Brad's still in the pit studio that he lost his brakes testing down there at Road Atlanta. You want to make sure that pedal's there.
I'm glad they didn't have that foot cam whenever I was doing it. If they wanted to put it in mine, that'd have been pretty ugly. It was a mess with me trying to get it. Dave?
Jason Leffler needed this late window. Remember, they had a penalty earlier. Let's see if the fueler can release that fuel can this time after filling it full. Perfect job. 31 of Justin Allgaier also in both of these Turner cars. Low on mileage today. They needed this late stop, and this will put them back in the pack.
These Turner drivers on a little different incentive plan with their owner to finish in the top 10 to get paid, so they're going to be racing pretty hard right here.
And I guess running out at that last road course.
That was a heartbreak.
Strategy here today to make sure that didn't happen once again.
Brian Scott had just been on the pit road at lap 50, and now 6 laps later, he's in with that steam coming out of the car.
He must have run off, got a little grass on the grill.
Kyle Busch's lead before the pit stop over brother Kurt was 1.54 seconds. After the pit stops, it was 3.06 seconds, but Kurt has clipped a little bit off in this last lap. Kyle Busch leading the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. In theory, everyone's made their final pit stops. Kyle's lead over brother Kurt, 1.2 seconds, 1.5 seconds over Carl Edwards. That has closed a bit since we went to the break as the leaders work their way through some traffic. Let's check in the leaders' pit. Doc?
You mentioned that Kyle Busch has slowed down, and they have slowed him down considerably because no matter how many times they figure it and calculate it and look at it and refigure it, they are looking at Kyle being a little over a half a lap short on fuel. He is going to save, but he desperately needs a yellow to be able to gain a little fuel mileage here in this final run.
And that's what I see. I see him being a little short, but they're probably going to get those yellows because the intensity level is going to pick up a little bit. We're going to see some people running into each other. I think they'll get that. They went 33 laps the last run. They have to go 32 to make it to the end, but they did get some help with caution laps before that first or second run.
Got intense in that traffic there a second ago for these front runners.
See, Brian Scott misses the inner loop, so he'll have to come to a complete stop. He does.
Yeah, that's really, depending on where you catch this traffic, it can really hamper your lap time and trying to save that fuel too, because you know you want to get by there and get through that so that you can really do the things you need to drive the lap you want and to try to save the fuel.
Kurt Busch subbing in that 22 car today for Brad Keselowski, who is with us in our ESPN pit studio. Brad, winner of last Sunday's Sprint Cup race at Pocono. And Brad, you've been in this situation before, being asked to save a little fuel. Hard to do, easy to do?
Well, it depends on what track you're on, but
on this one,
this one here, I don't know how you save fuel here. There's so many different zones, and you've got to go. And if you don't push your car hard, you're going to lose a lot of time. So we saw where Kyle had a 3-second lead. It's now down to 1.1. So Kurt's closing on him, and if he saves any more fuel, he's going to lose the lead. So that's going to be tough.
The best way to save fuel would be not using the brakes nearly as much. Try to get off of them, but it does cost you lap time at a track like this.
Well, the nationwide kart too, Andy, it's because the straightaway speeds are smaller with that tapered spacer, you don't use a lot of brake here compared to the Cup car.
Oh, there's trouble. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has gone around.
They'd been trying to stay out there. They were really off sequence, and they were trying to stay out there trying to get a caution flag because they were on the lead lap still. I don't think they wanted to be the caution, though. Hasn't been thrown yet.
There you see he's in the last corner. He was in 9th position at the time of the spin.
Kind of starts early in the right there in that left-hand turn. Now he gets just a little, looks like a little wheel hop maybe. A little loose getting into that final turn.
Yeah, you really want to hold it out there to get a straight shot off of that turn 7 and get a nice run down the front straightaway, but a really loose part of the racetrack.
I heard Mike Kelly, his crew chief, saying that we need a nice, clean, solid day. It's been anything but that for this team so far.
Dropped Stenhouse back to 17th in line from 9th, so he was able to get it fired up and not lose a whole lot of positions. Look at this, in traffic.
Here we go. Not going to be able to save fuel now.
And Carl Edwards pinned behind side-by-side cars there.
Well, they got behind that. Like I say, the best thing Kurt can do is just push Kyle as hard as he can. Make him use as much fuel.
Yeah, we see Carl Edwards back a little bit, but I think that these front two cars are faster throughout a run. Carl's able to hang on when the tires are new, but it seems that he drops off after about 10 or 12 laps to get on the tires.
So Kyle able to open a little bit of a gap there off that last corner, while we see Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of the championship contenders on pit road. Vince.
And he is the championship points leader, so they just wanted to have a clean day today. Coming off that win last week in Iowa. Of course, he swept both races at Iowa this season for his 2 wins. He was 8th at Road America in June. If they felt like they could just have one of those kind of days today, they'd be in great position heading out of Watkins Glen. He's had some damage on the front grille today, but otherwise, and that spin, but otherwise uneventful. 4 tires, no changes for Ricky Stenhouse.
But it is going to drop him off the lead lap and a number more positions in the running order. See where Stenhouse shakes out right now. He's back to 22nd. Talked a lot about the 18 in fuel to the finish. What about Kurt Busch in that 22, Shannon?
Well, guys, according to Todd Gordon, they are good, but they did just tell Kurt on the radio that Kyle Busch is a half a lap short. They told him, keep that pressure on the 18.
Yeah, they probably didn't need to tell him that. I'm pretty sure that Kurt was going to do all that he can. For 2 reasons. I'm sure that he knew with Kyle having to make that pit stop early, they had to be on somewhat of a different strategy here and now and trying to get a little bit more mileage out of that. But the other side of it is just keep that pressure for a mistake, possibly.
Saw Kurt Busch lock the wheels up a little bit getting into turn 1.
Trying to get a little more.
Now, that can really take its toll, though, on those front tires. You don't want to slide that inside front tire. It'll flat spot it. And these are the tires you're going to have to finish the race on.
I love some of these looks.
I do, too. I love this shot from the helicopter.
Amazing to watch these guys, just how much they try to straighten these corners out and make the car go as straight as possible as much as they can. That's hard to say when you talk about having 7 turns plus the inner loop back there.
And you can see right there how Kurt closes up a little bit on that corner entry.
I think that's a product, too, of his car, which we heard Kyle talking about early on in the race, that Kurt's car just turned a little bit better. And I think that's a product of that. He's able to carry a little more speed in and not hurt the center of the corner.
09 car of Kenny Wallace was very slow down the front straightaway last time he came by. We'll keep an eye on Herm while we keep an eye on the race for the lead between Kyle and Kurt Busch. 17 laps to go in the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen.
Back at Watkins Glen, Kyle Busch is your leader. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2, NASCAR Now, presented by 5 Hour Energy. They will get you ready for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race here at Watkins Glen, presented by GoDaddy.com. Join us tomorrow at noon on ESPN. Tomorrow afternoon, it's the IZOD IndyCar Series at New Hampshire. That is at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. And keep in mind, next Saturday, August the 20th, the NASCAR Nationwide Series heads up north to Montreal, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Up front here right now in Watkins Glen, it's Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch, the driver of the 22. Normally is Brad Keselowski. He's with us in the ESPN pit studio. And you just said things are about to get interesting between
They
these
sure
two.
are. Yeah, they sure are. I look at Kurt, and he's not going to be happy running second. And I think he might be just a touch faster than Kyle. They've been switching back and forth on lap times. Kurt's been faster this last lap by 2/10. He seems to catch Kyle and then slow down just a little bit, but I don't think this race is by any means over. It's going to get good.
I don't think it's over yet. My problem is, where's the cautions,
Yeah, I agree
Brad?
with
We're
you.
usually getting
That's right.
caution flags right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. We do have a couple of cautions. Then that brings Carl Edwards right back into the fold, and the guy that I picked, Ron Fellows. So I think we're far from over.
Well, let's get you caught up to speed with what everyone is doing with Nationwide Insurance, starting with our leader and Doc.
Thank you, Nicole and Rusty. That's exactly what Kyle Busch is asking. Where are the caution flags? I need a yellow flag. Folks, if you just joined our coverage, Kyle Busch, by calculations, is about a half a lap shy on fuel. That's the bad news. And here's the worst news. Right behind him, brother Kurt knows that. And so he's going to keep the pressure on and try to run his younger brother out of gas. Shannon.
Well, Doc, Kurt's been very quiet on the radio. Really, the only communication has been the team letting him know that Kyle is short half a lap on fuel. The last pit stop for Kurt Busch was on lap 55. I just spoke to Todd Gordon, and he said that they absolutely can make it on fuel. Kurt Busch said at the beginning of this race, the theme of the day was just rolling with it, and that is exactly what he's doing right now. Doc?
Back in third spot, the 60 car of Carl Edwards. Now, Mike Bean has been around racing a long, long time. And Mike understands how road course racing works. That's why he kept Carl Edwards on the racetrack for 2 extra laps before bringing him in for that final pit stop. Carl is good on fuel. In fact, they told Carl a moment ago, we are 3 laps to the good for a green-white checker. Stay.
Doc, Ron Fellows is good on fuel as well in the red number 5. That is the same car that he drove to a second place finish at Road America. It's the same car he'll race next weekend in Montreal. For today, he needs that caution to pull everything together because he's got the speed, just no track position now, Shannon.
It's been a month since Joey Logano's been in this 20 car, and guys, he's had some great mentors here this weekend. Racing the Grand Am race with Boris said Max Pappas is his acting driver coach. Max is actually up in one of the spotter stands over the bus stop, walking Joey Logano through the track. He says he really wants him to be smoother around the turns, not to wrestle the car so much, and that is exactly what Joey's been working on all race. Dave?
Shannon, all Paul Menard wanted to know is, are we good on fuel? He was told yes. I asked David Hyder, his crew chief, as he tries to make the move right to get through past that car, what he thought of the Brickyard 400 when they're working with him. He said he's good on a road course, very good, and he's a good person. Remember, he's finished in the top 5 3 times this year with his team, trying to make it 4 today. Vince?
In that 7th position has been the 7 car of Jimmy Johnson. They've had an eventful day. Remember, Jimmy had to go to the back because of a pit lane penalty. He's been one of the fastest cars all day. Certainly one of those guys that would benefit from a yellow when they bunch up. He wanted to get some extra road course laps in today. It's the same tire they'll run on tomorrow in the Cup race, and he wants to get that rhythm down for what he'll have under him tomorrow. Nicole?
Been interesting. A lot of things that we've seen today may translate into tomorrow's race, some of the issues on pit road. We'll let this one unfold. We are 12 laps to go here in Watkins Glen. We'll let it unfold, reset the field, and see if anything does happen between the Busch brothers when we come back.
Heavy lap traffic in the race for the lead at Watkins Glen with 9 laps to go. Kyle and Kurt Busch have been the only 2 drivers that have led this one all day, and they have been caught in a pile of cars trying to race for the lead in the closing laps. Paul Menard was in the top 10, 7th. He's just coming off pit road after an unscheduled stop.
See another driver getting off course. That grass piling up on the grill.
Paul was getting pushed hard by Jimmy Johnson, and that lap car just happened to be right in the way. That's an absolute wrong time. Jimmy Johnson got a good view of this.
Well, that's just whether Paul wanted to go, but just a little impatience right there.
So, Dave, Menard has lost all that track position they had before.
Yeah, they came down pit road. They cleaned off the grill and sent him back out. He wanted to know then. They were waiting for timing and scoring to refresh because he wanted to know who am I racing. So as soon as they get that information, they'll let him know so he can pick off as many as possible before the end of the race.
Well, I have kind of good news and bad news for Menard and that team. Good news is he didn't lose that many spots with that unscheduled stop, and that's because the bad news is the field is kind of spread out. Aside of this race for the lead, everything else has got a pretty good gap to it. We've only had one caution in this race so far today.
It's hard to believe. We're down to 8 laps to go.
And I think Kurt Busch decided it's time to get going, too. I think he's seeing Carl Edwards come closer to his rear bumper, and he doesn't want Carl to get there at the same time he's going to, because he wants to be able to maneuver a little bit here, take some chances with trying to make a pass on his brother, Kyle.
He may not have to pass it. If he can put enough pressure on Kyle and we don't have another caution, he might be able to run him out of gas.
I'm betting he don't wait that long.
Probably not.
A couple follow-up thoughts on what you guys were just talking about. The trend this season, fewer cautions in these races. And the other thing was I mentioned about this race for the lead being the best one we've got. 4th place, Ron Fellows, is 21 seconds behind. These two and Carl Edwards. That's what you got. Unless we get a caution.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier in the show the high speed of this racetrack, and what that does then is just create a situation of spreading the cars out even more, because as handling goes away, which it will do because you have all of these high-speed corners, then that separates everybody much more. But we do have a great battle for the lead.
Told you he was a ways behind.
He's back there.
And very much doing...
They're doing the caution dance down
Doing the caution dance, yeah.
Yeah, they lost a little bit of time on the pit exchange there on the green, but here's a might possibly be our caution. Mike Wallace got it going.
And we'll stay green. Now watch the proximity of this spinning 0-1 car to the race leaders.
Hey, Kyle goes really wide, does a good job. So does Kurt.
Yeah. It just had passed Mike Wallace there.
Heads up.
Coming to turn 6.
So that's tough for Mike. And he is on pit road getting some fresh tires on that thing. Coming to 5 to go. Michael Annette's 62 car is 19th place. A lap down, about to go 2.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Kyle Busch here. I think he's adopted the theory that the faster he runs, the quicker he'll get to the checker flag, and maybe it won't run out because he's not backing off.
I don't know if it works that way, but we'll see.
Got to be a little tension in that 18 pit, Doc.
Very, very tight. Right side of your screen, crew chief Jason Ratcliffe. He knows that the best case scenario, I mean the very best, puts him a half a lap shy. If he doesn't save as much as they think they're saving, they'll be a lap and a half shy. And he said, you know, we're trying to save fuel, but you can't because older brother Kurt won't let up. Kyle trying to hang on, and I mean, they would love to see a yellow flag here in the final couple laps.
Yeah, and there's not, I mean, we heard Brad Keselowski talk a little bit earlier about not exactly sure where you would.
Time on this fuel race, man. I don't know. You're just going to have to watch it. 5 to go. We came to win. Just run it till it runs out.
Yeah, where do you save fuel? This is one of those areas. You can back out a little bit early, let the car coast up through there. He's got to just keep an eye on his mirror and see exactly where his brother Kurt is catching him. And he's also catching some of this traffic in some wrong spots, and that's hurting him also. I almost got off the track there, Doc.
Let me add back, DJ, on the calculations here. Now, you know, they know by watching what the pace a driver's running, how close they're going to be. And they said Kyle will probably, based on this pace, probably run out of fuel with 2 to go. In fact, he's saying that the pressure is fluctuating now. Be very ready.
There it is.
He's in. Here he comes. Here he comes, guys.
Wow. Kyle Busch gives up the lead.
make sure the pressure's up. We got to make sure the pressure's up. I got stop. Go. All the way.
What he was saying is he wanted to make sure that it had fuel pressure before they let him get down pit road where they would have to go down and push him.
40-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit. Don't get a penalty and make it worse.
Well, you got to hand it to Kurt Busch. He put enough pressure on his brother to make him run very hard, not just this run, but the run before, and to put him in this situation.
And remember, all this was set up back at lap 17.
Yeah, all
when
the way
Kyle
back.
got off into the grass right there at the inner loop and plugged up the grill and had to pit earlier than he wanted to because the car was overheating.
It just shows that you almost have to have somewhat of a perfect day of doing everything as the driver and the team to make these victories work or to get yourself in a position to win. Now Carl Edwards sees his chance.
I was going to say, Kurt Busch can't cruise now.
Now that is the race for the lead. Coming to 3 laps to go, Shannon.
Oh, yeah, guys, nothing on the radio from Kurt Busch right now. He is very quiet. But you know the guy who has a big smile on his face is Todd Gordon, the crew chief. I spoke with him earlier yesterday, and he told me, look at the drivers I've had in my race car over the last month. I've had Brad Keselowski, who's a nationwide champion. I've had Jacques Villeneuve, F1 champion, Sam Hornish, IndyCar champion, and of course now Kurt Busch, who is a Cup champion, and right now he looks like he is going to get another victory here at Watkins Glen.
Brad Keselowski's been with us for much of the race in our ESPN pit studio. I got to ask you, Brad, mix of emotions, seeing someone else drive your race car, but seeing your race team, the guys that work so hard for you, in position to win?
No, I want to see Kurt win. You know, Kurt and I have spent a lot of time together over the last few months trying to get Penske Racing to where we can be a contender week in and week out at both the Cup and the nationwide level. And, man, this is great. This is great to see, and I'm proud of him and proud of this team.
You were shaking your
Now we're going to get that caution.
Caution is out.
Oh, man. Poor Kyle Busch.
Oh, my goodness.
And this, as they say, changes everything.
It does, but it puts Kyle Busch. He does have enough fuel. Do these other cars have enough fuel?
And because the pack was so spread out, like we were talking before, Kyle's only 6th.
Yeah, he's going to be right there. And Jimmy Johnson had a fast car. He's up there. He's in the top 5. And he's got enough fuel.
And what I was starting to see there with Carl Edwards was, had he saved enough of his tires, or did Kurt Busch run his tires off running Kyle so hard to try to run him out of fuel?
Eric McClure. And that's Casey Roderick making his Nationwide Series debut in that 39, youngster from Georgia.
Smacks the tire wall. Here comes Eric McClure.
But it was enough to bring out just the second caution of this race and leave us now 10 cars on the lead lap and what is going to be most likely a green-white checker finish.
We talked about Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch staying out there a little extra time before they made their green flag pit stops to have enough fuel for this very situation, but they were running pretty hard. Do they have enough fuel now?
And Andy, let me ask you this. With just 10 cars on the lead lap, we see some of these guys pit and take on fresh tires? If you're Ron Fellows, Jimmy Johnson,
yeah,
or,
I mean, you got
or even Kyle Busch.
You've only got 10 cars that are on the lead lap, and that's something very rare at a road course. So it does make you have to think different in this situation. You want to try to come in if you can get tires at the back. Shannon?
Well, down here with Todd Gordon, green-white checkered. What do you guys think about your fuel situation right now, and how far can you go if this continues?
I think we're, we had ourselves good for one green-white checker in the Ruby Tuesdays discount tire Dodge. It's just a matter of how it picks up at this place. The elevation changes, so I think we'll be all right. I think we're in the same boat as the 60, so see what happens here.
Fingers crossed down here on the 22 pit box. Ellen?
All right, Shannon, thanks. I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, I think if Ron Fellows came, he could probably drag most of the other top 10 drivers in there. So that would leave just the front two.
Yeah, because you know that there's 3 or 4 guys. Eric Almirola, Elliott Sadler, Trevor Bain, they're at the very back of the lead lap cars. They're going to come.
Yeah.
And if Ron Fellows comes, that's going to make Joey Logano and Jimmy Johnson think about it. We'll see. This is going to be a very interesting call here because this is not a standard race that you see at a road course.
Yeah. Normally, Watkins Glen Sprint Cup race, we got a ton of cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, you'll have 30. By the time you get to here, usually about 30 cars are on the lead lap.
Saving fuel.
Don't want to waste any.
Jimmy just reached up and shut off. At Road America, we had 3 green-white checkers, right?
Yep,
just because we haven't had a lot of cautions today doesn't mean we're not going to in the next 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, that tells me Jimmy's planning on staying out. He's shutting it off.
Yeah, and these regulars, Trevor Bain, Elliott Sadler, Eric Almirola, they're nationwide regulars.
Here comes Ron.
Here comes Fellows.
That's it. Jimmy is staying out. So is Kyle.
Well, going to try and go for some fresh tires here, I assume, Dave.
Yes, he is, and they waited until the very last second so they didn't give their hand away. Fellows on pit road for 4 fresh tires, a load of fuel. The 33 of Paul Menard is in as well from 7th position. 4 tires and fuel. And Alan, you speculated correctly. With so few cars on the lead lap, that's why they're doing it. Shannon?
Joey Logano also in his pit box of callers for 4 tires in that 20 cars. You see the guys going around to the side of the car. He's also going to get a 1 can of fuel. They're going to get as much as they can in there. Alan?
All right, Shannon. So of the cars on the lead lap, the 10 of them, 6 pitted. Those 6 you see, 4 did not. Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch. All stayed on the racetrack. And this is going to get crazy.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Back for the green-white checker. We'll see what happens in a minute. There's only been one prior Nationwide Series race at Watkins Glen that had a green-white checker finish. This was it. A few years back, Kurt Busch in the 39, Robbie Gordon in the 7. They went at it for the race win, and Kurt Busch came out on top. Now we're set for a green-white checker finish at Watkins Glen, and it is Kurt Busch who is leading. Let's get some thoughts from the strategy calls and set up the finish of this race. Doc?
Well, Mike Beam kept his driver Carl Edwards out for an extra lap before the previous pit stop. Are you okay on fuel now, Mike?
Well, it's close, Jerry. I wish they'd get back going. The problem you have at a place like this is them trying to get the people lined up, to get the lead cars in front, and so it seems to take a little bit. But, I held him out there a couple laps so we have a little bit of cushion here so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
All right, Carl Edwards talking to him. They think they got enough fuel. How about Chris Heroy, Vince?
Well, Sean, your driver, Jimmy Johnson, has brought it all the way from the back to the front, now sitting in 3rd with this restart. Do you have anything left to win this thing?
Yeah, I felt we were the quickest car on the racetrack for the last stint. He drove it up from about 15th to 5th, so that's Jimmy Johnson. You're about to see a show. So this is our chance to win. We're pretty good on gas. We're going to take a shot at it and put it in Jimmy's hands.
Pretty good hands to be in. Dave? Tony Eury Jr.'s driver, Ron Fellows, had a little track position, gave some of that up. Was he more interested in the fresh rubber?
No, he really didn't know what he was doing. I was trying to keep it quiet on the radio, but with 10 cars on the lead lap, really knew we wasn't going to lose that much, and we got able to come in here, get fresh tires are worth quite a bit, and we'll pump them up and let Ron Fellows do what he does.
We were watching Alan. He did not let him know until the last moment, so Ron working off the crew chief strategy here.
You can't play your cards out too quickly there and let everybody else know.
So 4 cars did not pit, 6 cars did. And a couple of amusing things on this restart. Who's lined up right behind Kurt Busch?
Yeah, it'd be only Jimmy Johnson right there. Boys had a little action last week. Been talking all week long, so let's see who's going to talk loudest right here.
Don't you just love how this sport works out that way all the time?
And Kyle Busch, he's led most laps in this race today, so he's got another shot at this thing. He thought he was coming out of it.
And new tires behind him?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be good.
New tires from Joey Logano in the 20 and Ron Fellows in the 5 on back. Green, white, checker. They take the green, they race. If they get to the white flag and the caution is not waved, the next flag finishes the race. If the yellow waves before the white flag, they'll do it again. And remember, tricky, tough, turn 1. Who's going to win it?
Carl spun the tires a little bit there. He's losing a lot of time. See Kyle Busch coming up through.
Oh, the leader sliding.
Yes, he overdrove the corner. So Kyle. Like a lot of them overdrove. Here comes Jimmy.
Logano trying to defend. Carl Edwards trying to get it back into that inner loop, over the curbs.
Yeah, Joey used all of that 60 car there. He needed to keep him behind.
Remember Logano with the fresher tires, first off the pit lane on that stop.
The green-white checker here, though. A lot of racing left.
Second place, Kyle Busch, looking for a way around Jimmy Johnson. Coming to the white flag.
Kyle got up on the curb. That's going to hurt his exit speed there. Looked like he might have a shot at passing Jimmy down here going to turn 1.
White flag, the next flag ends the race. Kurt Busch leading Jimmy Johnson 4 car lengths down the hill. Got a good gap.
Yeah, Kurt Busch is in good shape right here. He just has to make sure that he doesn't overdrive getting into the inner loop right here. He should pretty much have things well in hand.
If he's got enough fuel, don't forget.
Right. And it doesn't blow up before he gets there. Saw that happen last week. Not with the Dodge. Ricky Stenhouse Ford, so anything's possible here.
A run up the final straightaway and 2 last corners to the checkered flag. Jimmy Johnson not close enough as long as the fuel holds out. Under power and coming under the checkered flag. Kurt Busch wins it.
Logano was able to get by Kyle Busch off of that last
Good
pole.
job with it. Awesome job, Kurt Busch. Awesome job.
Well, only 2 drivers led this race. They both have the last name. Older brother came out on top in this one. And Kurt Busch, talked about had a pretty good record in the Nationwide Series here. Added another win to it today. Shannon, they had enough fuel.
They did have enough fuel. I think it was the fingers crossed that got you guys to the finish line. Hey, you have a great shot of turn 1 right here on top of your pit box. What'd you think when they took the green flag and went through that turn?
I just hoping to picked all the fuel cell up. We knew we were a lap to the good on the 60 car, so just hoping everything came out of it. And, these guys did a great job this Ruby Tuesdays Discount Tire Dodge.
Brad Keselowski is in the pit studio right now watching the race, rooting you guys on. What was it like to work with Kurt this weekend?
It was a neat opportunity. I've had some great experiences here in this troubled time, which it's great with the organization we have that we can make the substitutions that are this level.
All right, let's go over to Nicole with your driver, Brad Keselowski, in the pit studio.
If you could see the look on Brad's face the second his car crossed the finish line, very genuine, big smile.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
It's great. I was just saying, this still didn't come together until literally Tuesday. We left our driver debrief talking about the Cup weekend at Pocono, and I walked up to Kurt and I said, "Hey, Kurt, man, it'd be cool if you drove my car this weekend. I just don't think I can pull it off." So he was like a kid in a candy store. His face lit up, and I knew he wanted to drive this car. I knew how bad he wanted to win, and I'm glad to see his hard work and his passion for the team pay off with a victory.
How big is this for the guys that you work with week in, week out, the crew guys?
Well, it's great for them. Like I said, 4 championship drivers in this car over a 4-week span between Sam Hornish, Jock Villeneuve, Kurt, and myself, and that's going to be really good to watch next week with Jock as well, having won this race before. I mean, just so much momentum. I'm just so excited. I want to run down there and go see him in Victor Lane.
Brad, with him winning a Cup race out in California, now winning this Cup race, this seems like this is a good partner to tag on his coattail to learn some things off of road racing, because he knows what he's doing. It's pretty obvious.
He's a phenomenal road racer. Phenomenal. I mean, that's why I was testing so hard. We went to Road Atlanta. He was way faster than I was, so we just kept coming back till we could run lap times close to his and have some data to compare to where we could do the same techniques, and hopefully that'll pay off for the Cup side. But he is a phenomenal road course racer, way underrated. You guys talked about his stats the whole time. This is his place. I mean, and I expect good things out of him tomorrow as well.
Started on pole, got the win. Alan?
That's a pretty good track record here for Kurt Busch in the Nationwide Series, and when he does race, most of the time he leads a lot of laps too. Kurt has only run 3 times in the Nationwide Series here at Watkins Glen. He ranks 3rd all-time in laps led now.
Wow.
That's pretty stout.
Yeah, it really is. And I can't tell you how difficult as a driver how this is to just jump in these cars that are underpowered and do all of these things. But just shows how good these guys are. You're with one of those, Doc.
Absolutely. He doesn't get in the Nationwide car very often, but boy, does he make the best of it. Jimmie Johnson, first of all, take us back. You went to the back of the pack and drove it all the way up back in the top 10 without a caution flag. Tell us about that run.
Yeah, I guess we had a problem on pit road with a fuel can being stuck in the car, and I knew I had a good car, and I knew it was getting better the longer we ran, so I was hoping for a lot of green flag runs, and we had it, and I was able to drive on up through there. A couple times I felt like I stalled out, but there's so many gaps that I had to kind of jump to get up to the next car that I just kept my head down, kept digging, and this Junior Motorsports car was awesome. Fast Chevrolet. There's a lot of good things about this race car, and proud of the effort, and can't thank these guys enough for having me in the car.
What'd you learn today that'll help you tomorrow?
Just reps, just getting in the rhythm, feeling brake fade, understanding my brake bias, kind of the rhythm of things. There's just a lot of small things that you kind of put in the back of your mind, and you just kind of count on those things later in the race in the Cup cars. So looking forward to it. I wish my family was here. I want to say hi to my wife and daughter, and looking forward to a fun race tomorrow.
How about that? Jimmie Johnson finishing second. Alan?
He had Jimmie Johnson behind him, brother Kyle in close pursuit, Carl Edwards next to him on that last restart, and he got away and has driven into one main financial victory lane. Kurt Busch, the winner. Let's talk to him.
Kurt Busch wiping down his face. He said on the radio, a lot of work for a lot of fun as he climbs out of the 22 car. Winning at Watkins Glen, Brad Keselowski's already made his way to victory lane. All right, let's get some business out of the way first. How close were you on fuel?
I didn't know where we were on fuel. I didn't really care about it. It was just the way that the crew chief, Tom Gordon, set things up. He said, we're going to go to that 2-stop strategy. Anytime you do get a yellow, conserve. But it's tough to do, and really it's just tough to really adjust to everything that's different in a Nationwide car. You just kind of go off your hip and just let her shoot.
Had some of the best in the business, top 4 on that last restart. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a good finish, a fight to the finish. All day it was me, Kyle. It was actually Kyle, us, and then Edwards. And then with that restart at the end, all heck could have broke loose. I actually drove it in a little too deep. That right front was cold, but just got to thank these guys, for allowing me to step in. They were starting to call me Bushowski because I was wearing Brad's suit. But, Tom Gordon, this crew chief over here, did an excellent job. This is a great Dodge Challenger. Proud to drive it. All these guys, Ruby Tuesday, Discount Tire, and, of course, with Shell and Pennzoil allowing me to come over here and have fun. It's really neat to come over here, sit on the pole, and win, and fill in for Brad Keselowski.
All right, good luck tomorrow. Kurt Busch had a smile on his face when Brad Keselowski asked him to fill in this weekend. And, guys, he has a smile on his face right now.
Hey, Ricky Stenhouse was hoping.
There is Brad Keselowski going to get in on the congratulations as well. At the Penske team, their winning in the NASCAR Nationwide Series has all happened in the last 6 races. We've seen the uptick in performance lately on the Cup side, too. Those two guys working together.
Yeah, I think
part of it.
Been a big plus for both of them for this Nationwide car, too. So good, give them both a chance to win the Sprint Cup Championship.
Lots more post-race to come from the road course in Watkins Glen. Kurt Busch outdueled his brother Kyle and a lot of other heavy hitters in a green-white checker finish to take the checkered flag first. Back at Watkins Glen International, the Zippo 200 has been won by Kurt Busch. The weather held, thankfully. And let's catch up with some more of the top finishers in today's race. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Carl Edwards, it looked like Mike Beam was making a call, thinking about the end of the race by leaving you out and having you come in a little later so you'd have some fuel for the green-white checker. And it looked like you were going to be sitting pretty good.
Yeah, we had plenty of fuel. Ran out after the checkered flag, but our car was faster than what was showed today. I was hoping we wouldn't get that last caution. It's easy to say, but I really think we had something for Kurt. His car was fast, but our Fastenal Mustang was really good. And that last restart, I just spun the tires, and that kind of sealed my fate. They went 3 or 4 wide and got stuck on the outside and finished 5th. But I'm excited about the Cup race. I learned a lot today, and that's the key, and hopefully that Cup race will go well.
For the fans at home, I mean, you're a veteran racer. You're one of the best on these kind of courses, and yet on the restart, the tires spin. Is it hot tires? Is it? I mean, is there anything you can do to keep that from happening?
I cannot push the pedal so hard. I think I got the tires pretty clean, but it was a first gear restart, so the engine has a lot more available torque to the rear tires, and I just spun them. And man, it's so competitive right now. Going down into the turn one, you spin the tires, those guys are all over you. So it's my fault. Should have had a shot at the win there, but maybe it's a valuable lesson. Maybe it'll pay off on Sunday.
All right, Carl Edwards finishing 5th.
Wasn't the kind of day Ricky Stenhouse was hoping for, but he still finishes with the points lead here today at Watkins Glen. And you also just got a nice little pep talk from the team owner, Jack Roush. What's that mean to you after a day like you had today?
It picks me up a little bit, but not very much, man. I suck on these road courses. I'm gonna have to do a lot of testing, a lot of schools, try to get better at this, because obviously we got 3 of them in this championship, and they don't fare well for us. So I got to go back and get to work for it. But we've salvaged an okay day. We didn't lose too many points, and we'll have to go on to Montreal and try not to make as many mistakes in the driver's seat.
What's the biggest struggle for you on the road courses?
Probably just getting in a rhythm and being smooth. I like to drive really hard, and that gets you in trouble. And I just got to find a good balance. It seems like when I back up and try to run conservative, I'm not up on the wheel, and things like happened in the last corner there. Just got loose and got behind it. So I got to balance, keeping up on the wheel and being conservative at the same time.
Not the kind of day he wanted to have. Ricky Stenhouse finishes 15th, but he still has a 10-point lead in the championship.
Well, Joey Logano made a pass on the final lap of his teammate to finish 3rd. And Joey, take us through the final restart and the craziness coming to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it was it was a lot of fun out there. We had a pretty good game stop Toyota there. We just took off slow. Then I didn't worry enough in practice about turning. That was my fault. And once we got the car turning good, Adam made some good adjustments on this thing. And once we got it turning good, we got a lot more speed. Then we just needed some cautions to get some track position back. Caution came out there. Adam made a good call by getting us 4 tires, get some goody in the tires there, and do what we can do. So we were able to pass a few cars there at the end, which was exciting. We wish we had a few more laps. I think with those new tires, we would have been able to get up there and pass some serious cars. So either way, we did a good job today. Just need to take off a little bit better in the beginning of the race.
How much did the Max Pappas efforts, so working with you at Road Atlanta, help you today?
Max is the man. I don't know if you guys are able to tune in the radio today, but it's funny. He comes over to the radio with his Italian accent, and he's got a lot of enthusiasm, so it makes it a lot of fun. He's really really into everything he says, and he's a really smart guy. He's easy to get along with, but he really knows what he's doing when it comes to driving these race cars. So it's good to have him on the side of me for sure.
Max Pappas excited on the radio, and Joey Logano excited here with a 3rd place finish.
And Max there, waiting to talk to his pupil.
Good to go, buddy. Yes, sir. You did a really badass job.
Very nice. No one was better today than Kurt Busch, celebrating in Victory Lane here at Watkins Glen after winning the Zippo 200. We've got lots more post-race coverage to come, so please stay with us.
One done, a few more things to go this weekend. NASCAR Now tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. on ESPN2, presented by 5 Hour Energy. And then we are back at noon Eastern on ESPN with the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from right here at Watkins Glen, presented by GoDaddy.com. Also tomorrow afternoon, it's the IZOD IndyCar Series at New Hampshire. That is at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. And next weekend, the Nationwide Series heads north to Montreal on ESPN at 2 o'clock Eastern time in the afternoon. This race really was 2 cautions for 5 laps. You would think it was drama-free until the very last lap of the race. A couple of issues between teammates, Jason Leffler and James Buescher. Let's take a look at what happened. I want to get your take on this. Here we are coming out through turn 7.
Well, you just see James Buescher just get right in the back of Leffler and just spin around him. They both get in the wall, tear their cars all up, and these are all teammates. We saw the 30, the 32, and the 38, all Steve Turner cars. Just take a look, Brad, getting in there.
Yeah, they were racing really hard, James Buescher and Jason Leffler, obviously. Jason gets by Buescher right here. Buescher's going to run him hard, try to beat him down into the corner. Looks like Leffler comes across the front of his nose, and he doesn't give him a break, and round he goes.
Buescher finished 17th. Jason Leffler finished 18th. Reed Sorensen got the better end of that. But let's figure out what James Buescher had to say. Here he is with Vince.
The last times James Buescher had been in the race car was at Indianapolis and brought it home in second. Didn't have that kind of day today. And then at the end, give us an understanding of what was going on there with the 38.
Well, first of all, it was definitely a good day going for the AccuDoc Solutions Chevy. We ran right around 10th most of the day and had a really fast car. Good pit stops all day and pretty much just stayed out of trouble. And then at that last green-white checker, Jason and Justin started slicing and dicing on the front straightaway, and I snuck inside, getting into one, and I guess he didn't know I was there and came down on me and scooted himself up the track. But it was just hard racing for green-white checker, and it sucks that we have two tore-up race cars, but the AccuDoc car was fast all day, and it was a good day.
What kept you from getting the finish that you feel like you guys deserved today?
I don't know if I went through some oil or if we had a problem or something, but about 7 to go, went into turn 6, and the car was turning good, and then just went straight, and then went into 7 and did the same thing, like I had a flat tire or something. So I just went to pit road, and there wasn't any tires down, and the car was fine after that. So I think I went through some oil or something, but lost 5 or 6 spots with track position. But that's unfortunate, having such a good run most of the day and having to go a lap down. We were still in the lead lap at that point, so it's just frustrating to run that good all day and then not get the finish. So we felt like we deserved.
Solid effort today, though, for James Buescher.
One thing that stands out, the top 6 guys are Cup regulars. The 7th guy is Ron Fellows. He'll be in the race tomorrow. So what did they all learn heading into tomorrow's Sprint Cup Series race?
Brad, I don't know about you, but what I saw today, and Nicole, was I saw a lot of problems with the gas can guys. I mean, I'm sure the Cup guys are watching what happened. There's many guys that got the gas can stuck in the back of these cars. And you got to remember, it's a reverse procedure from what they're accustomed to. So they'll be working on that tonight. The other thing I learned was that if you get off course a little bit, exiting the inner loop, you're going to pack that radiator full of grass. We saw that exiting inner loop. We saw it exiting turn 5. So big problems. Those are the 2 things I saw, Brad.
Yeah, especially with the gas cans. That was really interesting. Obviously, you're doing the pit stops backwards, and you see the gas man having some troubles throughout the day on multiple pit stops, including this one. It's almost like he couldn't quite get the connector, the coupler, connected with the gas can smoothly a couple of times there, and it got locked and really caused some problems.
The one thing to keep in mind, though, this crew was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew, the 88 crew that will pit that car tomorrow. So they did a little bit of practice, even though they didn't make a mistake.
Just odd angles. It looks like pitting from that side, maybe having to switch your hands, put a little bit of pressure on them, and had some real mess-ups on pit road.
We weren't quite lean, mean, and green the whole way, but we only had those 5 caution laps, which is the fewest we've ever seen at this track. Do you think it will be that extreme tomorrow?
No, I think we're going to have a lot more cautions tomorrow. These guys are going to get real aggressive. I mean, this was unbelievable how many caution-free laps we ran today. That's abnormal, I would call it.
It really was abnormal, but it was impressive, too, because that means that a lot of these young guys showed a lot of patience throughout the day. They didn't overdrive their race cars. They tried to put themselves in position for that last run. So that's pretty darn impressive for a lot of these young drivers.
And perhaps they learned something today that will apply for them next week. And keep in mind, this is the second of 3 road courses that we see on this Nationwide Series schedule. But here is something interesting. Heading into next weekend's race in Montreal, not everyone has experience there. The only driver in the points championship battle to make a start at Montreal, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Wow. He finished 24th there last year. Reed Sorensen, Elliott Sadler have never been to that track. And take a look at their results at Bristol. They're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, they really are. And the interesting thing is, though, these guys are all kind of around the same numbers as far as finishes, except for Montreal, but they're racing one another. So it really doesn't matter. It's just whoever's the best man that day gets the advantage.
Well, Brad, I can tell you one thing, and Nicole, from being in Montreal the last 3 or 4 years, calling that race for ESPN, I can tell you, if you think this place is hard to drive on a road course, wait till you get to Montreal. There's a lot of crashes. It's a very narrow course. It's really hard to get around there, and it could really shake up the points next week.
We've already heard from the points leader, Ricky Stenhouse. Let's hear from a few other guys who appear regularly in this series. Doc?
Standing with Eric Almirola. Eric, you told me yesterday this was as good a race car as you've ever had on a road course, and it showed today. Take us through your day.
It was an eventful day. I didn't qualify nearly as good as I should have. We had a really good car today. Our Ragu Chevrolet was fast as soon as we got here right off the truck.
all the JRM cars were fast. Fellows and Jimmy was really fast this weekend. So proud of everybody back at Junior Motorsports. They brought some awesome road course cars here for us this weekend. And my car was definitely a lot faster than I was. I come into here hoping to keep all the fenders on it, run 82 laps, and hopefully get out of here with a top 10. We finished 8th. So in my mind, this is a win for us. This is a great day, and we did really good. So I'm no road course expert, so I think this is maybe my 3rd or 4th road course race in a nationwide car. So really proud of Pops and everybody on this 88 Junior Motorsports team. They brought a really fast race car for me.
Eric Almirola happy with a top 10 finish. Not a bad points day for him.
Down here with Trevor Bayne, finished top 10 finish here today at Watkins Glen, but I know you had a spin in practice. So how did the race go?
You know, you got to push it sometimes. I saw Tony Stewart do it like 5 laps until the end of practice there in the Cup car, and I went out and did it in the same spot. So I didn't feel so bad after watching him do it. But I feel really good about this top 10 finish. A lot of times at a road course, you run 20th all day and luck into a top 10 at the end. But that wasn't the case today. We ran 8th all day right behind the Cup superstars and learned a ton. You know, I think I learned more at this road course race than I have all year long at a road course because we were actually fast enough to keep up with the best guys and follow them and learn something. So I had a really good time. Our Mustang was good, and we had a solid finish.
Okay, so you used the word learn. Of course, Montreal next week, very different than Watkins Glen. What did you learn here today that you can use next weekend?
Well, I just learned about keeping the car stable and keeping it under me. Before, you know, I was kind of like making it like a monster truck going through the corners, bouncing off curbs and stuff, and I learned how to really manipulate the car today, which is really important in Montreal. I won't get to practice up there all weekend or qualify because I'll be at Michigan with a JDRF car for Ford and Motorcraft, but I'm trying to remember how to pronounce his name. Jourdain, Michael, something. I don't know how to, those guys pronounce their names different. But Jourdain's going to be up there practicing our car, so hopefully it'll be fast, and I'm going to come in for the race and see how we do.
And Trevor Bayne hoping that this car is not a monster truck when he heads to Montreal. Guys?
5th in the point standings, Justin Allgaier, 80 points out from the championship lead, but not the kind of day that he was hoping for here at Watkins Glen today. What happened?
I don't know. We felt like we had a lot of things that made us good at Road America, and I think those same things kind of bit us a little bit here, the higher speed corners. But, great job to all the Florida Go Safe guys. They did a good job in the pits and getting us all the track position we could. Just came up a little short. I guess we were the first car 1 lap down, so that's always good. But can't thank Nationwide Insurance enough for all they do for the sport and NASCAR. And just had a lot of fun today and wish we could have been up there battling for the lead, but we'll get them next week in Montreal.
We talked before the race about, the road courses not being your comfort zone. Now you get to go for a second week in a row next week to Montreal. What can you take from what you learned today and apply it next week?
Well, we actually changed some stuff from Road America to try to be better, and found out that the brake pedal was a little too stiff this weekend, and kind of affected our braking. I couldn't get in the corner like I wanted to. So going into Montreal, it's something we're going to have to fix. And then just for me, just being able to get back into that rhythm, and it's going to be good. We had a great race in Road America, and I feel like Montreal's the closest to Road America that we're going to go to of anywhere. So it should be a good race up there as well.
Justin Allgaier finishes 12th today.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. said he needed a bit of a pep talk after this one. He finished 15th, but there's something to make him smile. He is still the points leader. He holds a 10-point lead over Reed Sorensen, Elliott Sadler, Eric Almirola, and Justin Allgaier round out your top 5. Nobody in the top 8 changed positions. We should also tell you, though, Eric Almirola, the best finisher today among the Nationwide Series regulars. We'll be right back.
Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN and ESPN2. On ESPN Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern, it's the Rockies taking on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Then on Monday Night Baseball, the Giants face the Braves on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. Major League Baseball on ESPN Sunday and ESPN2 Monday. Both games also available online at ESPN3.com. A look at Watkins Glen International, where the NASCAR Nationwide Series has just finished up racing a little over 200 miles, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series goes racing here tomorrow. This race this afternoon for the Nationwide Series wasn't your typical Watkins Glen race.
No, I think we saw things get spread out a lot more, and I think part of it was bringing this new car here to the road course, and then these Cup drivers just getting out here and kind of dominating the entire day.
Let's take a look at what happened this afternoon over the course of the race. The Busch brothers started on the front row, and they were the only 2 guys that led.
Man, they raced each other so hard right here, caucus by Kurt. Didn't take long, though, for Kurt to get right back by him for the lead.
traded the lead 6 different times between them. But again, the only 2 guys that were out in front. Pit road issues on the first set of pit stops.
Yeah, getting the cars full was definitely an issue. We see a lot of cars, a lot of gas men having trouble getting the can unplugged from the race car. This might be a problem that we might see tomorrow.
Total of 4 problems on that opening set of pit stops, identical with the fuel can. Championship. It seemed like everybody in the championship had trouble at one time or another during the day.
I think at some point in time, they all got off course, got a lot of grass on the grill there, had to come in because their cars were running hot, had to make an extra pit stop.
That was Reed Sorensen. Here is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who went for a little loop.
Him and his team decided they wanted to have a good, clean, uneventful day. They didn't get what they were looking for.
No, this started on the very first lap like that.
Stenhouse got off the course, plugged up the grill, and later on he had a spin all by himself right here, as a matter of fact.
Well, he did get away with the point lead. Didn't hit anything enough to hurt his car.
And all of the championship guys basically played to a draw today. Paul Menard, one of those guys who had trouble cutting the grass.
Yeah, ran around the top 5 all day long. As you can see, getting off, trying to pass a lap car there. That grass on the grill had to make this unscheduled pit stop, put him back.
But because the race was so long under green, it really didn't hurt some of these guys that had troubles because they were able to get going again, and then in the very closing moments were able to get a caution flag. That caution saved Kyle Busch, who had to make a stop for gas because they were going to run short. Came back out in line after giving up the lead. Then the caution wave for this incident, just the second yellow of the day, setting up the green-white checkered, but Brother Kurt just too strong in the get-go.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, he tried to get going there, but spun the tires and kind of opened the door.
Yeah, he overdrove the corner, turn 1, but it looked like everybody else was making enough mistakes that he was able to get away with the lead and get the checker flag.
So Kyle Busch led 48 laps. Kurt Busch led 37 laps. It was Big Brother celebrating in victory lane at the end of the day. More post-race interviews. Let's go to Doc.
We were just chuckling down here, Alan, about the fact that the top 2 guys in nationwide points, you and Ricky Stenhouse, spent a lot of time mowing the grass today. So, but still, hey, you know what? It's all about winning a championship, right? So tell us about the battles you fought, including the first pit stop with a water leak.
Yeah, that's the first time I went off course this whole weekend. So it was just, we were already running a little hot, and then when we got that grass on it, I think we only made 2 more laps, and it got the water hot. So we made our pit stop. It had a little bit of water on the ground, and we didn't really know where it was coming from. So when the caution came out, we made another pit stop. Didn't see any issues anywhere, and the water came back down, and we had water pressure, which was good. So we made an extra pit stop there. And then once we got going again, the water got hot again without me going off the course. And Trent was worried about getting the pressure too hot, so we made an extra pit stop again to come in and clean the grill. So we just made too many pit stops for not having any cautions, I guess you could say. And all in all, we fought hard all day. There at the end, I think we passed 5 or 6 cars on the green-white checkered. So I gave it all I could there, and I think we gained a couple points on the 6 car there. So all in all, not a terrible day, just too many pit stops.
After picking on you, we'll give you props. You did go from 18th to 13th on that green-white checkered, by the way. Now, you wanted the top 10 finish today. You finished 13th, but you gained points on Ricky Stenhouse. The big picture is you're closing in. How do you feel about this championship?
I feel pretty good. Looking forward to going to next week and going to a place I've never been before, and just going to try to lean on a few people to help me out once I get there, and have the same mentality we had here, which was to try not to make any mistakes. And I think it'll be fun. From what I hear, a lot of the drivers enjoy racing there, and we'll take the Dollar General 32 car up there and see what we can do.
Hey, good luck to you next week.
Thank you.
Reed Sorensen, guys, second in the point standings. Dave.
Ron Fellows finished 7th today, but you restarted up further than that with a fast race car. What happened?
Well, we Tony Jr. made the call to come down pit lane. We were running 3rd, but a distant 3rd, and there were 10 cars in the lead lap, so we weren't giving up much, and it was worth a shot. And the problem on the restarts, for whatever reason, I just had no brake temperature. I had a hard pedal, but it was just stone cold. I went wide in 1, and went wide in 10, and struggled in turn 1 again. So we were just kind of hanging on, unfortunately. So, when you're running, I mean, it was fun. It was fun it was great fun working with Tony Jr. and great to have a number of Canadian Tire folks here down from Canada. But I'm still a little disappointed.
Well, and I know next week you get to go back to the homeland and race in Montreal. The brake package seems to be the biggest issue that you need to overcome with this group.
Well, I don't know if it's something in the brakes were fine, and I think it was something in the cycling. I've only ever seen that once before. Is what it is, and we'll talk about it. We were thinking about doing something a little bit different at Montreal anyway. So,
and that is a track we'll need brakes. A strong top 10 run today.
Guys with a couple of top 20s. Mike Wallace was top 20th today, right, Mike?
Yeah, but you're
and Joe Nemechek was 11th. Pretty solid day. I know you guys were saving a lot of fuel early in the race, and then what?
Yeah, our mileage was a little off there at the beginning, and really didn't know what we were going to get for mileage, so really had to conserve short shift. When it was time to go, we went. The sun loosened our car up a little bit. You know, it was just a good day for our whole Nemco Motorsports crew. AMFMenergy.com and DAB help us out, and we're able to be here. So got a car in one piece, ready to go to Montreal next week.
That's half the victory right there, just having it in one piece. Endured, survived. Those were some of the words Joe was using to describe the day today. How about from your perspective?
Well, I think about the same thing. We had a little complication early in the race. We got a lot of grass on the grill and had to come down pit road on an unscheduled stop. Got behind, spun myself out at the end, but didn't hit anything. And, we were hoping to take this car on to Montreal, and we did. So, Biaggi Brothers, would like to thank them and Smith Transport today. And, man, what a road course race. Hardly any cautions. I've never seen one like that before.
Yeah, two guys that get loaded up in the trailer all in one piece. That's mission accomplished.
Well, it was a 16th place finish for Stephen Wallace, but more importantly, you told me before the race, this is your Montreal car, so you had to keep it in one piece. How was your day?
Yeah, for sure. Our 5-hour Toyota wasn't too bad today. We were pretty good there at the start, and then our second pit stop, the guys accidentally pulled all the tape off the front of the nose because we were running a little hot, so the car got really tight there on the middle run, but we're kind of racing with our hands tied, because this is our Montreal car, so couldn't take a chance at all tearing this thing up. So we managed to do, come home 16th place. A couple guys in front of me had some bad points today, so in all it was a good deal. But just like to thank 5-Hour Energy, Aspen Dental, and all those guys for all their support, and we'll go to Montreal and hopefully have another good run.
All right, see you next weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Michael Annett brings it home 19th today, but more importantly, you brought it home in one piece because you guys don't have an extra to take to Montreal with you next weekend.
Yeah, we have another car, but it's going to take a lot of work for these guys to turn around and go to Montreal. So, we met our goal. We wanted to stay on track, bring this car back with, without any tearing in any fenders, and I think we brought it back without a scratch on it. So we want to run better. I'm still learning on these road courses, and completing laps and finishing races is what we need to do. So, we did everything we set out to do, and hopefully take everything we learned from here to go to Montreal and try to get back to that top 10 finish we had at Road America.
What can you take from this race and play it forward that's going to maybe benefit you at Montreal?
Yeah, there's just so many techniques, with road course racing, and knowing that I'm not the greatest driver, I'm not going to go out there and try to set the world's fastest lap time. Each lap, I'm trying something different. If it works, you keep, trying to repeat that in each corner, then you move on to the next section and try to make yourself better there. And that's really what I concentrated on. And towards the end, we got better throughout the day. And there's only certain corners from here will go into Montreal. But, I learned a lot at Road America, and I think we'll take more from that race and put it into our package for Montreal.
Michael Annett taking some lessons forward next week to Canada.
Thoughts of some of the finishers today at Watkins Glen, and you hear as we look at the top 10 finishers the complexities of having back-to-back road course races in this nationwide series. For some teams, their Montreal car was on the truck as the backup for here. For other teams, they needed this car today to go run next week.
It's a tough place. These road courses are hard on cars, and you heard those drivers saying they had to take care of them so they can have them next week.
Those who took care of them best pictured there, the top 10 finishers today from the Zippo 200 at Watkins Glen. Kurt Busch taking the pictures, spraying the champagne, and celebrating another victory here at the Glen. Remind you again about our coverage of Major League Baseball continuing on ESPN and ESPN2. Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern on ESPN is the Rockies against the Cardinals and Albert Pujols. Then on Monday Night Baseball, it's the Giants and Braves on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. Major League Baseball, ESPN Sunday, ESPN2 Monday night. Both games also available online at ESPN3.com. So as the fans head home from today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race at Watkins Glen, we look ahead to tomorrow and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and we show you the starting lineup.
Yeah, see Kyle Busch on the pole. That's my pick to win this race. Marcus Ambrose told me he was going to win this.
Yeah, my man starting 7th, Tony Stewart. I think he's going to take it. Tell you what, though, Kurt Busch did a good job. He's starting 27th tomorrow. He'll have a good shot at it.
Regan Smith was up there, a top 10 starting spot.
Jeff Gordon, so much success here, but it's been a while for Gordon since he's won at Watkins Glen.
Harvick back there in the 12th row with Matt Kenseth. Harvick runs good here.
Today's winner, Kurt Busch, I don't think expected to be that far back in the grid for tomorrow.
He won't be when that race gets started.
And see Dale Jr., who's trying to secure a spot in the top 10, got his work cut out for him tomorrow.
Hey, Jeff Burton way back there in 40th spot.
Needless to say, his Saturday qualifying effort didn't work out like he was hoping.
Well, that lap didn't anyway.
Yeah.
See Paul Menard, who has trying to make one of those wild card spots work out for him, but once again have to gain some spots. And Denny Hamlin, a little accident.
He's way back there. Yeah, he had a little problem qualifying.
Let's show you.
Slipped a little bit. Yep, slipped a little bit off of turn number 5. I think he's going pretty good right here. We just got a little bit too much speed, a little too loose. Got lucky, though.
Now, explain how hitting the wall on your qualifying lap, where he got lucky in that.
Well, they're not going to have to go to a backup car. He hit the right side, and he hit it just flat enough, flush enough that it didn't do enough damage to go to a backup. And we heard that Denny's really happy with his car, and he's feeling pretty good about tomorrow.
Denny said on his Twitter account after that, he said the car was stupid fast. Driver was just stupid on the qualifying lap.
That's his words.
Those were his words, but it'd be fun watching Denny Hamlin come from the back. How will tomorrow's race be different than today's?
Well, you have a lot more competition, and the competition is so close in the Cup Series this year. And when you have these cars this equal and the talent this good, you're going to see a lot closer racing. Therefore, when you get closer racing like that, then the competition ramps up, and we start seeing accidents happen from that close racing.
And it also jacks up the strategy. You know, these guys are going to have to make really good calls. They're not going to be able to get away with things like we saw some of the guys get away with today, because it will put them so far back. There'll be 25 to 30 cars on the lead lap if we have a green, white, and checker tomorrow.
And you factor all that into a couple of things: the race to the chase, the close championship, that wild card picture that Denny Hamlin is very much a part of. Make a mistake on Sunday's race, and it may be really costly about a month from now. Last year, it was Juan Pablo Montoya who dominated the day here at Watkins Glen. 42 car led most of the laps, had to overcome a little fight at the end of the day. Marcus Ambrose was there.
Marcus Ambrose ran really good last year. He's going to run excellent tomorrow. Can he get that win? That's the question.
And for Montoya, after what's been a really lousy month, this race couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah, it really couldn't, and he certainly he knows this is an opportunity race for him and his race team, and he'll be right there. It just has such great skills on this type of racing surface, and those will show tomorrow.
And the other factor, kind of that pink elephant in the room, weather. There is a forecast for some thunder showers in the area tomorrow. The crew chiefs will have an eye on that. Hopefully we'll have an on-time start and we'll run the whole distance, but it could factor into tomorrow's race as well. Throw that on top of the pile, that the complicated races that these NASCAR Sprint Cup Series events have become. Our coverage tomorrow from the Glen is presented by GoDaddy.com. We start with Countdown at noon Eastern Time, and look forward to what's always a very exciting event here on the road course, and see how the 2011 edition of the Run at the Glen plays out. Again, tomorrow, noon Eastern, here on ESPN. Of course, last Sunday at Pocono had a few newsworthy and noteworthy items happen. There was Brad Keselowski scoring the win despite the injured left foot, and then the last laps back and forth between Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch.
Yeah, a little disagreement here over exactly what was happening. For Jimmy Johnson, talk about that he was just trying to get the 22 off of his quarter panel to keep him from slowing down. Kurt took exception, thought that Jimmy was swerving at him, and decided a little payback was necessary there.
And both drivers are very good on road course, finished 1-2 today in today's race, so look for them to be close to each other tomorrow.
Both drivers have had their say in the media here this weekend so far. Jimmy basically being very firm and not being very happy at the way things went down, specifically the post-race discussion last week, and Kurt saying, if I'm in his head, good for me, and it was just good hard racing.
Yeah, good for him and good for us. It'll be entertaining to watch these guys.
So looking forward, the NASCAR Nationwide Series again with those back-to-back road course races. Next Saturday, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. It's been a wild race the last few years. We'll see how this one goes. That's next weekend. Then it's on to Bristol, Atlanta, Richmond, Chicagoland, and more. Some great racing coming up for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. If you'd like to join us at the track, that is how you check out ticket availability. Coming up next, the 2011 Little League World Series presented by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes down in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That's always some fun. And as we wrap it up for today here in Watkins Glen, we congratulate Kurt Busch, who outdueled his brother Kyle and some other heavy hitters to score the victory. Kurt, again in victory lane at the Glen, seems to be something he does regularly whenever he gets behind the wheel of a NASCAR Nationwide Series car on this high-speed racetrack. The Busch brothers, the two dominant drivers on the day. A green-white checker set up a sprint to the finish, and it was older brother Kurt who came out on top, and he'll certainly be one of the favorites tomorrow when we join you at noon Eastern Time. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. See you tomorrow.